Welcome to Community Board 7's Transportation Committee meeting. I'm Ken Bogdan, co-chair, Sophia Valla, my co-chair. We have members of the committee, Howard Yaris, Jay Adolph, Eric Schmidt, Laura Sachs, Gary Alexander, Doug Kleiman. And this is the chair of our board, Alex Bell. And we have non-committee board members, Ethel Sheffer, Claudia Newell, Hayden Brockett. And we may get a couple of them. So.
And Barbara's online too.
Oh, we have people online. We got Barbara. Hello. Great. So I just want to give a few remarks about how we're going to proceed today, this evening. The main event is the first thing is a redesign of West 72nd Street. In September 2020, Community Board 7 passed a resolution calling for a protected bike lane and attendant pedestrian safety infrastructure on West 72nd Street from Central Park West to Roadside Drive. 6 years later, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. What we called for was a proposal, and we're gonna get that proposal. Yeah. So for the first item, we have a lot of people signed up online.
I have a question before we continue. You're going back to 2020 and that was many moons ago at this point. Based on that, it almost sounds like the history, it's been written already, that this is going to happen. Are we here for no reason, or are we gonna get some say tonight?
That's, you have to ask DOT that question.
Well, I'm asking you because you're chairing the meeting.
As far as I know, you're here for a reason.
Okay,
One of the reasons is to give DOT input
right.
on how to make it a better.
The other point I want to bring to everyone's attention, unless I was left in the dark, I was not aware. I live on 72nd Street for 51 years. I own 3 businesses on 72nd Street. And I had to hear about tonight through various different people. There was no official correspondence. Nobody reached out to me.
So
And how would anybody possibly know about this?
I can handle this one. So yeah,
Please.
this was noticed
I look forward to this.
over the last 3 months, both on our website, on every newsletter.
Uh,
We also reached out to every single block association.
nobody brought it to my
Yeah,
attention.
we don't maintain a list of every business
Okay.
or person in the Upper West Side, mostly because it's illegal. And so we don't individually reach out to people to say there's a meeting you should.
Right, so we didn't
interested
want to put up signs or
in.
anything.
We don't
to
put
that
up
effect.
signs.
We don't put up
So
signs.
we don't put up
So we
signs.
like to do it in the shadow of darkness.
No, that's just not how the process works.
You've had your piece.
Yeah,
You're making
thank
sure
you.
that
That's not how the
everyone's-
process works. In the
Okay.
Manhattan Borough President's Office, we put up signs for liquor licenses.
For liquor
Is the current,
licenses.
is the current.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding
Yeah, yeah.
how the system works.
Okay.
Or doesn't, rather.
Pardon me.
Thank
No,
you.
no,
May I make a point, please, make a point?
No, I
I
am going
called
to,
Gail Brewer's office and I was told that they believed that had been tabled. And then suddenly she publishes it in her newsletter.
We can't say what Gail,
I'm asking,
Yeah.
but asking you, do you believe that your notice was adequate?
yes, we do.
Because from the presence here and
This
from the shop.
notice was no different for any other street redesign that this board.
It was in Linda
Center
Rosenthal's
change.
newsletter. I mean, if you
So-
read any of the things, it's.
So, all right,
let's move on.
So
We need
I'm
to-
going to give the ground rules for how we're gonna proceed. Ms. Elizabeth Caputo, committee member. We're gonna start with a presentation by DOT. It's gonna last about 10 or 15 minutes. Then we are gonna have committee questions of DOT, just questions. And not just committee, other board members can ask questions of DOT. Then we're gonna open it up for public comment and questions or questions. And we have people online and we have people here in the room. So we're gonna go 3 people in the room and then 3 people online.
No,
People
just
do.
do in person 20 minutes and on Zoom for 20 minutes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
And it's 1 minute.
Yeah, and 1 minute each.
And we're gonna really stick to 1 minute each because last I heard, we had about 150 people signed up to speak. And we're probably gonna have to cut things off at a certain point. So, and the timekeeper here is Howard Yaris. And he's gonna be, he's under orders to be very strict. And he has the ballot. So, and then, after we finish, hopefully, with the public comments and questions, then we're gonna have committee, just the transportation committee discussion, where board members can participate also. And then we're going to, probably vote on the proposal. I would just ask that we are all neighbors here. We all want what's best for our community. We want everybody to focus just on the plan in front of us. We don't want any personal attacks, any attacks against organizations. Just focus on the plan. And we will be calling that out if people stray from that. So
Just what does that mean that you're going to vote on this?
there will probably be a resolution proposed, either in support or against. And
And that goes to where?
and that will go to our full board. And the full board meets first Tuesday in May. And now, what this committee does is not dispositive of the board. What the full board does is the voice of the board. So, once it goes to the full board, assuming the resolution passes this committee, it will go to the full board. Anybody who doesn't have a chance to speak tonight will be able to speak at the full board, be in a bigger room.
Possible just to ask, how many of you live on West 72nd Street? Just by a raise of hand, how many of you actually?
No.
No one? No one? Oh, you do.
We're not gonna do that.
Thank you.
So I guess.
So thank you for that answer.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So with that, we're gonna turn it over to DOT, Colleen Chattergoon and Patrick Kennedy.
Hi,
Thank you.
everyone. Good evening. I'm Colleen Chattergoon.
Hold on.
Sure.
It was terrible. Try now. Do a 1, 2, 3 for us.
1, 2, 3.
Better, yeah, great.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Colleen Chattergoon. I'm a senior borough planner at the New York City Department of Transportation. Thank you so much for hosting us this evening, where we have a really great presentation on the 72nd Street redesign from Riverside Boulevard to Central Park West. As the transportation chair mentioned, this is a project that the Community Board 7 has supported and sent a resolution to DOT asking us to look at the corridor. I just want to remind folks that this is not only a protected bike lane that we are going to be installing, we're also going to be installing some safety measure treatments for pedestrians along the corridor to make the street much more safer for all users of the roadway. So thanks so much. My colleague, Patrick Kennedy, who's here, he's going to deliver the presentation. Thanks so much.
Point of order. Colleen just said we're going to be installing. Is this a done deal?
Exactly.
Yes, thank you.
Sir.
It's a good question. Colleen, you can answer.
I mean, listen, it's a presentation that we want to share, that we are here tonight to share with the community board. There is room for modification. We're here to listen to the feedback from the community. And if the community is requesting, certain modifications on this project, we're more than willing to look and reevaluate those considerations. So thank you.
All right, great. Okay, let's go.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just give me a second to share my screen. Can everyone see the presentation?
Nope.
Yeah. Yes, we know. Okay.
There's a big truck in front of us.
I will stop a little market delivers.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so good evening. My name is Patrick Kennedy, and I'm project manager in the cycling and micromobility unit of DOT. And I'm here tonight to present our proposal for a protected bike lane on 72nd Street.
So there's a redesign.
So before we get into the proposal, I want to talk about cycling in New York City, particularly how it's become an increasingly common way to get around in recent years. On the slide, you can see 28% of New Yorkers rode a bike last year, and bike trips to work get higher each year. And the growth we see in cycling is something that we don't see in any other mode of transportation. And along with the growth in cycling is, of course, cyclist safety. Protected bike lanes have the highest risk reduction for cyclists of all the bike lanes that we install in the city here. And particularly, they work best on the highest risk streets. Oops. And protected bike lanes are not only good at improving cyclist safety, they also benefit pedestrian safety. Protected bike lanes organize the roadway, they shorten crossing distances, and often include signal treatments that benefit pedestrians as much as cyclists. This is from a report that DOT published in 2022. It's on our website, and it found that on streets with protected bike lanes, seniors saw a 39% decrease in basically severe injuries or being killed, and a 22% drop in overall injuries. Non-senior adults saw a 24% drop in the severe type of injuries, and a 9% drop in overall injuries. So redesigning a roadway to include a protected bike lane, it benefits all adults, seniors especially. Okay, so shifting from the citywide focus on safety to an area closer to home. I just want to give a lay of the land for what we're talking about here tonight. The Upper West Side is flanked on both sides by world-class parks and amenities. To the west, you have Riverside Park and the Hudson River Greenway. And to the east, you have Central Park. We also have protected bike lanes running north and south on multiple avenues. Focusing more on Central Park, there's an existing protected bike lane. There is access to the park, but it is mostly from the northern and the southern ends. That's where the protected bike lanes, that's where they access the park currently. The only east-west protected connections are on the east side, on East 61st and 62nd Street, and they don't even face an entrance. Now, related to parks are greenways, which are often found together with or like within parks. DOT recently released a citywide greenway plan. And if you look at the map and on the slide here, you can see that the existing greenways of Manhattan basically just ring the island. They go around the edge. They're all on the waterfront. This plan identifies the need for a central spine to go up the middle and also connecting routes that link the spine to the waterfront, one of which is roughly around 72nd. This plan is basically illustrative, but it's just to show that we want to have access in from the waterfront to get to either the spine or the parkland that's within the middle of Manhattan. So 72nd seems like a good idea for a protected bicycle connection. We think so, but CB7 also identified this, as was mentioned earlier this meeting, identified this area for a PBL back in 2020 via a resolution. The need for crosstown protected connections has come up elsewhere, most recently in a 2024 study that focused on the safety of the Central Park drives that DOT and the Central Park Conservancy and the Parks Department worked on. So the project area, I know we've been focusing on the west side, this being CB7. But I want to clearly state that we consider the scope of this project to include 72nd on both the west and the east sides of Manhattan. What we have tonight is a proposal for the west side, the western portion of 72nd Street, but we plan to go to CB8 later on with a similar proposal for the eastern portion of 72nd Street as well. So looking specifically at the west side, this is the part of 72nd we'll be talking about tonight. Some of you may have already noticed, but this proposal also includes a bit of Riverside Boulevard down to West 68th Street, as well as the entirety of West 72nd Street. Okay, moving to existing conditions. So shifting to West 72nd specifically, this street it links cyclists from the Hudson River Greenway to Central Park and the Upper East Side. We have existing north-south protected bike lanes on Amsterdam Avenue, Columbus Avenue, and Central Park West. And there's also a fair amount of commercial activity and double parking on much of the corridor. So the street is a two-way, 60-foot wide street with 2 lanes in each direction, and it has parking on both sides. There are 3 bus lines on the street, most of the M72, but the M5 and the M57 are on a couple of blocks on the western end. We have loading and drop-off needs distributed throughout the corridor, with both residential and commercial needs making up that loading and curbside access need. And then on Riverside Boulevard, where for the smaller part of this proposal, it's a narrower street. It's about 44 feet wide, 1 lane in each direction, parking on both sides, flush median in the middle, and it connects to Riverside Park. It connects from Riverside Park to at 68th Street. It goes down via a ramp down to Riverside Park in the Greenway, and it has high density residential on the east side of the street. And as far as access to parks goes, there are specific points on both Riverside Park and Central Park where cyclists can get from one to the other. But to access these points, they have to use West 72nd Street to get to and from these two parklands or regional amenities. And as you can see, there's a family here riding their bikes on the street with double parked vehicles next to them out in the roadway. And here are the existing safety numbers for West 72nd Street and Riverside Boulevard. This corridor is in the top 10% of crashes in the borough. And if you think back to my earlier slide on safety, protected bike lanes are most effective on the highest risk streets, and 72nd is one of them. This corridor also has a higher percentage of senior injuries than the rest of the borough. And I want to again refer to my earlier safety slide, where I said that redesigning a roadway to include a protected bike lane benefits all adults, seniors especially. So moving to the proposal. So we propose a continuous 2-way protected bike lane on the west side of Riverside Boulevard and on the north side of West 72nd Street, running from the park entrance at West 68th Street over to the entrance at the Central Park Loop and at Central Park West. So it's the west side of Riverside Boulevard and then the north side of West 72nd. So some of you may be asking, why a two-way lane on one side of the street? We have a few reasons for that choice. One, this design works well with the park entrances, especially Riverside Park. It also uses less width on the roadway than if we were to separate those bike movements on the north and the south sides of the roadway. This design also allows us to use bus islands to narrow the crossings for pedestrians, and it preserves our ability to add some plantable spaces in the center median should we want to in the future. We're not proposing that now, but it's something that we would have the option to do in the future. So our proposal for West 72nd, as you saw before, install a two-way lane on the north side of the street. To do this, we're going to remove one travel lane in each direction and install turn lanes or other return restrictions where necessary. We'll be integrating the recently installed mid-block crossing between Amsterdam and Columbus into this design with concrete islands as well. And for all those changes, we would need to remove about 10 parking spots total for the length of West 72nd. These are long blocks, so it's actually a much lower amount of parking removal than on our avenue projects. If any of you were around when we proposed those, it'd be like 4 or 5 spaces a block sometimes. In this case, it's really just 10 for West 72nd, for the entire length of West 72nd. So here is a cross section showing that that design I just said, but yeah, the cross section shows our proposal with the concrete built out. The islands in the parking lane we would be able to do right away. We want to wait and see how this is functioning, how this is working before we would move to propose or install any kind of center islands here for beautification purposes. It's a bus route. There's a lot of deliveries happening here, so we want to make sure that this street's functioning properly before we would move to anything like that. But this is what it could look like. This is the block between Columbus Avenue and Central Park West. We'd be installing an extra long turn bay here to account for the volume of vehicles that are making turns at Central Park West. And then this is what it would look like at bus stops. I want to make an important note here. As part of this design, buses will be stopping in lane at the islands instead of pulling to the curb. So here we have an image of West 72nd looking east from Amsterdam Avenue. We have 2 travel lanes in each direction, parking on both sides. We have long crossing distances, no bike facilities, yet a direct connection from the park to the Greenway. That's what it is here. And then this is a rendering of our proposal. Here's an image of that. So the remaining lanes are enough for the existing vehicle volumes. The concrete island shortens the crossing distances. The 2-way bike lane organizes the bike traffic, and we have a continuous protected connection linking the park with Greenway. Okay, so now I want to talk more specifically about a few spots on the corridor. This is the Riverside Drive intersection. Here we have a large painted pedestrian space on the northeast corner. And to install this protected lane, we would need to shave that back a bit. Not very much, but a bit. It will still be quite large. We also plan to install painted pedestrian space on the south side of the T here. You can note that at the bottom of this drawing. At the West End Avenue intersection, we plan to ban the eastbound left from 72nd to West End Avenue. So that's eastbound to the northbound. That movement's actually very light. And with all the other signal needs at this intersection, all the phasing, the way it's arranged, we felt this was the best option to be able to get the protected bike lane through safely. And also I want to point out that we'll be continuing the lane reduction to the western end of 72nd over by the Parkway entrance. And we're adding some parking west of Riverside Drive on the north side of the roadway, where previously we had a second westbound travel lane. And then at Central Park West, this is the other end of the project. We propose to separate the eastbound vehicles. They're making lots of turns here. We're going to separate them from the bike and the pedestrian movement entirely. So we've been maintaining the 2 eastbound lanes for most of the block, thus that vehicles can queue to make their turns. But when vehicles get to the intersection, the movements will be separated. So bikes and peds will cross the street at the same time, and then vehicles would make their turns without the bikes and peds conflicting. Okay, on Riverside Boulevard, we're going to continue that protected lane, only now it's on the west side of the street. This will shorten pedestrian crossing distances for those 4 blocks where we have the lane. So also note, because the street's a little too narrow to have the bike lane and the parking and both directions of travel, we have to remove something. So in this case, we plan to remove parking on the east side of the street entirely between West 68th and West 71st. That amounts to about 27 spaces. But this way, we were able to provide the protected bike lane, shorten cross distances for pedestrians, and also maintain 2 directions of travel for vehicles. And here's what that design looks like on the existing and proposed. 2-way lane on the west, floating parking, pedestrian space, and then retaining the 2 directions of travel. So now on to making it work. So as I said earlier, we have enough capacity on the roadway to remove 1 lane in each direction. There's actually not a whole lot of, the volumes on West 72nd aren't that high, but something that we'll have to contend with is to, and account for, is the frequent double parking that we've observed that occurs on 72nd Street. So something that we did in advance was we used our public engagement team to talk to people on 72nd about how they use the street. We talked to a total of 89 businesses. We got decent participation in a survey, about 70. And we learned that we shouldn't surprise most. What we learned shouldn't surprise most people. We learned that there are a lot of deliveries that are happening on the street, both inbound and outbound. People are getting deliveries, people are receiving deliveries, and then they're also sending them out. And also most people observed frequent double parking on the corridor. We also visited residences, mostly talking to building staff. We did a survey. We didn't really get great participation, but we had conversations with people, and we were able to confirm a lot of similar parking needs. This would be more for like building services, utilities, and also deliveries or for hire vehicles, things like that. So different purpose, but same need for curb access and turnover. Okay, here you can see a heat map and on the bottom, and then sort of a line graph or a line map on the top. The concentration of deliveries is on the top, and the observed double parking is a heat map on the bottom. They correlate pretty closely to each other. If you spent any time on the street, it shouldn't be really that surprising for you. But yeah, there's the big concentration in double parking and also deliveries between Amsterdam and Columbus. So we know when commercial activity happens, we know that density residential buildings have as much need for curb access as businesses do. And we plan to update curb regulations with an emphasis on turnover of parking spaces in the highest demand areas. What does that mean? Well, it's because of a lot of the commercial areas are already metered. We plan to change the time limits in certain areas to better facilitate parking turnover. We also plan to expand the reach of metered parking where we have additional commercial need. And then for residential blocks, we plan to install residential loading zones to reduce instances of double parking. We're still working on the exact limits of these changes, but I want to stress that parking regs are one of the quickest things that we can do or undo. And we'll definitely be paying attention to what happens on the street once we make any changes. So moving from parking to transit, there's one location where we will not be able to install a bus island. That's for the M72 stop, southbound stop at Riverside Boulevard and West 69th Street. We looked at moving the stop a block north, there's a block south, sorry. We were hampered by existing trees and cobblestones. So our proposal for this stop is actually to shift it to the north side of 70th Street. So instead of being on Riverside Boulevard, it would be on 70th Street. This has also moved the stop from an unsignalized intersection to a signalized one. But that is the one bus stop where we would not be able to keep it in its current location. So in summary, we're proposing a two-way lane on West 72nd Riverside Boulevard that will connect the Hudson River Greenway and Riverside Park to Central Park. This is part of our overall goal to make a similar connection on the east side, which we'll propose at a later date. This will link our existing protected network on the north-south avenues to the park and to the Greenway, and it will shorten pedestrian crossing distances at intersections across the Upper West Side. As far as next steps are concerned, this meeting is the beginning of our public outreach efforts, and assuming this all goes well, we could potentially begin installation of this project later this season. And once again, we plan to bring a similar proposal to CB8 across the park so we can continue this effort on the east side. So that concludes the proposal. Now we can move to the questions portion.
Great. Thank you very much, Patrick.
You're
Hi,
welcome.
before we move
Yeah.
to the question, can you please add my colleague Carl Sundstrom as a panelist?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you so much.
Can he raise his hand? I'll
I will-
keep looking.
Okay, I'll let.
No. Yeah.
No, never one.
Oh.
You guys continue, I'll find Carl.
Okay, so we're gonna move.
I just have a question about the proposal.
No,
No.
Oh,
You
sorry.
have a question.
After.
Oh.
First, we're doing questions
Okay.
from the committee members and the board, and then we'll move to
Got it.
to the public. So committee members, we just ask you, only to speak once, when we're going around asking questions. Try to limit your, obviously, just questions, no speeches or anything.
We'll have a discussion after the.
Yeah,
public
yeah, we're
speaks.
definitely, we're
Yeah.
definitely gonna have a discussion
Yeah, yeah.
after we've
Thank
heard
you.
from the public. So,
The committee first.
Could you speak up, please?
so committee members first, so let's go clockwise.
I have no questions.
No questions for me.
Yeah.
Let's go to committee first, Doug.
Okay, yeah, so real quick, I want to know if there's any physical separation between the east-west bike lane traffic, or is it paint only? That's one question. Next question is, on those islands, is it implied that passengers on buses need to cross when they're departing or entering the bus to cross the two-way bike lane? And which dovetails into the next question, which is, has MTA already bought into this plan? I assume that they are a very intricate part of this redesign. Have they already blessed this? So the three questions are, is it paint only on the east-west in terms of separating east to west bike lane bikers?
Well, can I just answer that
Yeah.
first one, then we'll go to the second one? So that separating east and west bikers from each other, it would be a painted line, yes. Similar to your two-way lanes we have throughout the city.
All right, so what concerns me is obviously head-on collisions are twice the speed. If you have a 20-mile-an-hour biker going in the opposite direction, you have a 40-mile-an-hour collision. That concerns me as a biker. But anyway, I'm sorry. And then next question.
Yeah. Second question was refresh, sorry.
Second question was, do bus passengers, when they're departing and entering buses, do they have to cross the two-way bike lane?
They would cross from the sidewalk via a crosswalk in the bike lane with appropriate signage and markings to indicate that a cyclist should stop for that person crossing to the concrete island via a crossing.
And my last question was, has MTA already blessed this in their feasibility? I assume they're a huge part of the change here.
Yes, we've been coordinating with the MTA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Karen.
I'd echo Doug's comment about considering adding medians to the two-way lanes. It's incredibly dicey. It's certainly better than nothing, but it'd be appreciated if that would be considered. Two other questions. First, is there data that you've considered from 96th Street? The new bus lanes there have taken us down to 2 travel lanes, one for the bus, one general. This on 72nd would be one that would be shared between both. So are there any lessons that we're learning from what's happened at 96th Street that have been applied here? Second, when this new lane is going to connect to Central Park, that area in particular on the park side is always filled with pedestrians and is going to be crowded. Is there specific painting or signage that you've considered adding to make that a little bit safer? And similar to that, as you think forward to presentation to CB8, farther down on Terrace Drive, that connection there from Terrace Drive over to the Park Drive is the transit equivalent of a particle collider right now. And as we increase the amount of bikes, which is a great thing, connecting from the greenways, DOT is going to have to do a little bit more work, I think, to figure out how to make that safer. So if there's anything that you can share with us now about that, that would be helpful too.
Okay. So for 96, we did. We've the same people who are doing a lot of the analysis work for this project. We're doing the analysis work for that one. So lessons learned there we would be applying here. But the crossing into the park because currently there is no bike facility on West 72nd. We will be adding an equivalent appropriate entrance into the park that matches the way that we would have bikes go on the north side of the street. So instead of having to cross down to the bottom of the roadway, they would be just crossing in to the park with appropriate signage, like yield signage and also markings. We understand it's it's a very mixed space, it's a very busy space. Often a lot of people who are either standing around, also pedicabs that are collected there. We understand it's a lot of users there of the space, but we would be using appropriate markings and signage so that cyclists understand that they are supposed to be yielding to people who are standing there into that space. And then for the transverse, that's we understand it's a rather chaotic space. There's a lot of people moving in a lot of different directions. We just recently redesigned it, and we are monitoring that redesign. But we are always open to making further changes should the need arise.
Patrick, can you stop sharing your screen so people can see the other people? But thank you.
Sure. I may need to reshare at some point, but I can. Hold on, I gotta get to the.
Laura?
Yeah.
I have a question. In your evaluation and traffic study, was there, did you factor in that West 72nd Street? I perceive it has more traffic going in the west direction because there's the entrance to the West Side Highway. And the decision to put the bike lane on the north side, which is the probably more trafficked side of the street, has that been factored into the design? And how many conflict points might be different on the north side versus the south side, given the street is not equal in both directions? And the other question I had was on the west side where it curves around to Riverside Boulevard, the Islamic Center and the double parking there. I know you mentioned taking 27 spaces away from 72nd down to 69th and adding some adjacent to Riverside Park. But I'd like to know more about addressing the double and triple parking on that block west of West End Avenue as an existing condition that I think might be worsened by a bike lane on the same side of the street as the Islamic Center.
Okay, so for your first question, that was about traffic volumes. We had a comprehensive traffic model going across the entire corridor, including Riverside Boulevard. And with that, I mean, this is this design works with all the existing turns and all the existing vehicle movements. The one movement we would be removing, of course, which we noted in the presentation, is the eastbound left from eastbound 72nd to northbound West End Avenue. That's it. But yeah, there is high demand for that Parkway entrance, but there's actually higher demand on the east side. The Central Park West intersection was actually the toughest solution for us to figure out via the traffic modeling to try to figure out how to accommodate everyone's movements at that location. But even there, we're able to provide a solution that gets people separated access, bikes and peds being able to cross unimpeded to cross the street, and then also having vehicles have unimpeded access. I'm sure you're familiar with that intersection, but the way it works now, people walk at roughly the same, like there's an LPI, but people do walk, and turning vehicles barely make it through until the crowd of people continue, passes on. And during the nicer weather, that just lasts the entire phase sometimes. So yeah, it's something we're really hoping can be a great solution for that spot. And I'm sorry, your second question was,
Regarding the parking at the Islamic Center.
yes, I mean, that's going to be an issue whether or not we have a protected bike lane here. We think having the additional parking closer to the Islamic Center on the north side of 72nd will be helpful, but it is definitely something that we need to continue to monitor that. But we're looking for better solutions that we have. Adding more sort of fortifications to that painted space to keep people from parking in it would be something that we'd be looking at. But no, it is an issue, but it's an issue that would occur whether or not this proposal was being made.
Doug asked my question, so thank you, Doug.
Jay, is it possible to get one of the slides?
Yeah, ask Patrick to come back up.
Which one?
Number 26?
Can you put up number 26?
And I apologize, but it's for my own short memories. So I want to make sure I'm seeing it.
Okay, is it sharing now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
26, you say?
Yeah, I believe it. Nope. It was the one that showed the all 6 lanes, the proposed 6 lanes.
This one?
No, it was a rendering. Yeah, that'll do it. Sorry.
This one or no?
So,
Yes.
That's it.
just a couple, I mean, you answered some of my questions. I had noted several organizations, institutions, advocacy groups, business groups, that I would have expected you to have consulted, about this, and basically, you did a fairly comprehensive job, so that question goes down the tubes. I guess my question is, can you paint a more detailed picture of what the traffic flow is likely to look at with one travel lane in each direction, fair, consistent double parking activity, and where personally, I don't think signage is gonna be the answer. I envision one travel lane with double parking occurring on a regular basis with bus traffic in that lane. In essence, it sounds like a simplistic question, but where does the traffic go under those circumstances? Or as it is often on 96th Street, it goes nowhere.
Probably say a toddler is safe and a report that
Okay.
she's sorry.
Would you have a question, Patrick?
A toddler is safe, that's good.
Any questions?
Yep, no, I was just waiting for that.
I know it's a somewhat subjective question, envisioning that scenario,
Mhm.
but I would like your opinion as to what you think is gonna happen.
So the traffic flow that's currently there, it's usually impeded by double parked vehicles. There is a lot of double parking on this corridor. So it's already really functioning as one lane, a lot of the time anyway. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's functioning as one lane. Something that we have found when we do install protected bike lanes on streets where we have frequent double parking is merely making it more difficult to double park reduces the instances of that parking, of the double parking itself. So when there's two travel lanes and light traffic, people have no problem just pulling over, stopping in one of the travel lanes and just waiting for as long as they need to. When there's only one travel lane and they know they're going to be blocking people, people tend to either spend less time or to just not do it at all. Typically, we find that behavior reduces itself.
Commercial vehicles are legally allowed to double park.
Keep going.
I understand that. Also, with our with additional changes to the parking regs, that's another thing we can do to reduce the instances of double parking because we can reduce the need for it. And then lastly, and not talking for all vehicles, but enforcement. So that's something we can work with PD to try to get some enforcement on this corridor as part of this effort to further reduce the amount of double parking that's occurring.
What do you mean by changes in double parking regulations? As most of the
Not double parking regulations, changes in parking regulations to facilitate curbside access, to increase turnover of vehicles that are parked on the curb.
To give the commercial vehicles a place to go.
Currently, Patrick,
Which changes the amount of parking that will likely be eliminated.
currently it's
I like
2
the-
hours, isn't it? Typically,
You're asking me?
yeah. we're
No.
asking Patrick.
He's nodding.
He's nodding, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Shall we move on?
No, the rest of
Okay.
his comment.
We believe you. We believe you, Jay.
Okay, so I have a number of questions. Thank you, first of all, thanks. And I was predecessor as a committee chair along with Jamie Floyd, and we first heard about this proposed redesign about a year ago. And thanks to Colleen, have a little bit of more of a background on this and how it came to be. It's now being called a bike lane instead of a street redesign, which is my first just point of clarification. Second of all, I have two quick questions. One is the mid-block crossing at 72nd. How is that, or is that going to be impacted at all by the new redesign? And then my second question is, how many net parking spots are going to be removed by this proposal?
So the mid-block crossing would be, it will be there it's there now, it will be there, as part of this proposal. And we would install concrete islands at that intersection there to, actually better increase the sight lines so that people can see. But yeah, it would just be a crosswalk like any other, stop bars like any other. In terms of the parking lots, I think I indicated 10 removed on West 72nd, 27 removed on Riverside Boulevard. I actually didn't add in the parking added in on the north side of 72nd on bordering Riverside Park. I'd say that would be about 6 or 8 spaces.
Okay, so about 25, not 25 to 30
Roughly.
loss.
Roughly.
Okay. Now, just a few other quick things. This pertains to the east side and this proposal and how it's going to move forward. My understanding is we're going to be asked to vote tonight specifically on this proposal as it pertains to the west side. I have to believe that there is a plan to present this, or is the plan to present the full east side part of this to CB8? And I guess I'm trying to figure out how can we assume that, you know, if we vote to support this tonight, if there's a chance that it gets voted down at CB8 for the east side, does that mean it just is a bike lane that goes on the west side of, and it stops there, or is the plan to make it completely across the park and no matter what the community boards vote? And along those lines, has community board 8, are they even aware of this? I'm assuming they're aware of this meeting, but when I was, a year ago, we had talked about making sure that these meetings were happening sort of concurrently, so we could hear feedback from across the park as well as our own feedback before we made a decision on as to whether we supported the project.
So CB8, like this is a notification for both CB7 and CB8 that we plan, or we have a goal to get a protected connection all the way across Manhattan on 72nd Street. In terms, like, we have a more formalized plan for the west side, and that's why we went to the west side first. The east side is actually a much tougher design to do. We're having to take a little more time on that one. It's a narrower street. There are some different challenges that are over there that don't exist on the west side. So this is why we went with the west side proposal. And I'm sorry, did I answer all of the questions?
So
Maybe
vote
there were a few
tonight,
others.
assuming that it would be extending across the park, that it would not just be
Yeah,
this
yeah,
portion of the park.
that's our goal. If for some reason we get there's something that happens on the east side, you know, we're also happy with something that connects Riverside Park to Central Park. We think that's a working
what I was
connection
getting.
to make.
At another street, like 86th Street.
Okay,
or
well, that's
96th
a
Street.
question.
Go get your
And then
questions
this is
later.
my last question that sort of pertains to that, is just, if this is approved and the bike lane access goes across at 72nd Street, does that render moot the possibility for protected bike lanes on any of the other transverses through the park?
No, that
Or will
wouldn't,
those
no.
be considered in the future, or is this primarily going to be what cyclists are directed to as their main point of crossing Central Park?
I mean, we're willing to consider a protected bike lane on most streets in the city. It's just that these are the ones we're prioritizing to do first.
That's not
So
really what I was
yes, we want to do one on 72nd. We think it makes the most sense to do one on 72nd. Though that doesn't negate or the
Okay,
possibility
so
of
what you're
doing
saying
something
is
anywhere
that
else.
the 72nd Street would just be the start. It would not be the,
Yeah.
yes, it would just be the start. And because we've had other proposals for consideration of limiting traffic through the transverses at the cross streets, 86, 96, and even 66. And you're saying that this proposal does not render those potential crossings moot?
No.
Okay.
Howard.
Oh,
You're
Clark.
just committee.
Single person representative.
Oh, sorry, no questions.
On this community
So-
board.
We have a minute left of this Q&A, but maybe we can extend for 3 more minutes for non-committee,
I can be real quick.
non-committee members, and then we can go to the public.
I assume you guys don't have any
I have,
We don't
questions.
have-
I have a
okay.
couple.
Is there a single member of the board that's a member of the business community on 72nd Street, or is it all just
Go ahead,
people
your
Does
comment.
you
talking
have
about
anyone to
bikes?
talk? We're doing our committee questions.
The public will come next, you can ask.
Patrick, I had just a couple of questions. The first one is the entrance to the ramp, that goes to the Henry Hudson, west of 72nd. How are you going to help cyclists navigate that safely? Is there gonna be a light? There's a lot of cars, I think, turn from both directions onto the ramp there. I think going north.
Yeah, the ramp for the parkway, that's there's a stop sign there, so the bikes would be governed by the same stop sign that the vehicles are. Reducing the amount of travel lanes that are approaching that would help with just visibility and predictability there. Currently, it's like 4 travel lanes, I believe. There's a through lane and a left turn for the stop signs. But so just reducing that down to 1 lane in each direction, which there is capacity for there, would simplify that intersection. But yeah, bikes would have the same stop sign that the vehicles do.
Okay, and the islands for the buses, will those be elevated?
Yeah, but bus island height, I think they're slightly higher than our typical pedestrian island. Don't quote me on that. I think they're a little bit bigger, but yeah, they'd be raised.
Okay, and you'll be able, is there any estimate as to how many actual loading zones you're contemplating? Or is that to be determined?
For the neighborhood loading zones?
Just in connection with this project.
In connection with this project.
In connection with this
That's-
project?
that's-
No, we're still determining that.
Okay, but you can tweak the regulations and what is loading zone, what isn't.
Yes, yes.
As you go along, right?
Yes, and we want to have a few per block where needed, but we're still actually toying with like having a few shorter ones or one longer one, trying to figure out which one we think is the best idea. But because we also want to balance that with just the amount of just regular alternate side parking that remains on the blocks.
No, okay,
Oh,
for
no,
non-committee members, but
that's-
for, keep it brief, because then we have another 20 minutes. That
Yeah,
I just want to get to
totally.
the public.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Hi, so I see that there's an 8-foot bus boarding island. And you said that one of the bus stops will not get an island, but will every other bus stop be getting a bus island
Yes,
for pedestrians to stand on?
yes.
Okay, you mentioned that this proposal will shorten pedestrian crossing distances, and my question is, do you have an estimate for how much less time it will take pedestrians to cross 72nd Street?
I mean the actual time, we're taking about 20 feet or about 1/3 of that crossing out, just because if you were to look at the image that's up now, someone who's standing on that bus island closer to the travel lane, they would have to just cross those 38 feet roughly out of the 60 to get from one side of the street to the other.
So do I understand that if you're taking 1/3 of the distance away, it's 1/3, probably gonna be 1/3 faster to cross?
Roughly, yes.
Okay,
Assuming people start at that island there, but yes.
sure, that's a good point.
I mean, the real benefit for shortening the crossing distance is also that it forces the vehicles to make a more squared off turn. They can't make a wider turn. So narrowing the roadway has that safety benefit of forcing vehicles to make slower turns.
Okay, so I think you helped maybe anticipate my last question. Can you just walk us through, obviously a big concern is e-bike and pedestrian conflict. Can you walk us through how exactly, if so, this will help alleviate that conflict between e-bikes and passengers, if so, and pedestrians, excuse me?
So we're with this, specifically how this project would alleviate that is to organize the roadway to have bikes, whether they're e-bikes or regular good old fashioned pedal bikes, in a predictable space, in a one side of the roadway, having them in one spot. So that if people are crossing that space right there, they know that there's going to be two-way bike traffic, and that they're less likely to see bikes out in the roadway itself.
Yeah, I have two questions. I don't have a lot of comments, but I have two questions, please. I live at the corner of 72nd and Riverside and observe it all the time, every day. Laura must be my neighbor. Hi, Laura. We've been, she's new. I've been on the board a long time. My two questions. I think Laura understated the degree to which there is constant throughout the day, and even more so during Ramadan period, and even more so during other Muslim holidays, double parking, triple parking, quadruple parking on the corner from somewhere east of Riverside Drive, all the way over to Riverside Boulevard, the north side of 72nd, the south side of 72nd, sometimes can barely get one car through any of that. So when I saw your, I'm turning this into a question. So when I saw your slide on your hotspots, the hotspot you were showing at that corner was like a little hotspot. And turning this into a question, I'm wondering when you looked and how often you looked, because when we see it very, very often, it's as I just described it, as Laura kind of described. So when did you look? How did you count?
I mean, that was,
the rest of the street seemed like nothing.
so we're treating that really as more of its own separate issue. We were engaging the Islamic Center separately than sort of like the general business outreach that we did for the rest of the corridor. But no, we understand that it is an issue at that location. Yeah, certain times of day can get very, very oppressive. But yeah, we're by reducing the amount of increasing the amount of parkable space, but also reducing the width of the roadway, making it harder to double park in certain places. We're hoping to keep the roadway clear.
Okay, I'll keep my comment on that for later. My second question is, I'm not sure if you can bring up a slide that shows where this bikeway, where the intersection between 72nd Street and Riverside Boulevard, where you continue your proposed bike lane going south on the west side of Riverside Boulevard. This is not a good one. The photo was a better one. But let me phrase this as a question the best I can. You have accounted for westbound bicycle traffic that wants to go southbound in Riverside Park to make a turn to enter Riverside Park at the ramp at 68th, wherever that is, and first go on Riverside Boulevard and then enter Riverside Park on the ramp, and they go, you got down to the river. What I've heard you say nothing about, though, is bikers who are careening across 72nd Street want to get into Riverside Park, either down to the Greenway or other areas in the park, and go northbound. There are two possibilities there. In times which are not these times, they could turn northbound on Riverside Drive and enter the park at 79th Street. However, the Rotunda project, which you guys are involved in, is underway. It's got another couple of years. Bicyclists can't get into the park there. In 2 years, maybe they'll be able to. The other thing is, right in front of you as they hit the corner is a pedestrian, what is now a shared path, a pedestrian path, full of pedestrians, full of people with their dogs. There's a dog run right there. It is the single primary entrance to Riverside Park for pedestrians. So what I'm going to turn this into a question. My question is how you have accounted for the fact that cyclists who want to go into the park and don't want to go south, but rather go north or into the park, how are you going to keep them from careening across and going on that pedestrian path, particularly when they, in the next 2 years, when they can't even enter at 79th Street? I think it's a good solution for going south, for southbound cyclists, but I haven't heard anything about how you are accounting for northbound cyclists.
And just so I understand, you're talking about at Riverside Drive, the path that goes through the park.
I think what you're pointing to looks like this shared path. It's not that wide. There's a dog run just right over there.
He gets it.
Gets down. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, we probably people who are headed north will continue to take that. Will continue to take that that path through the park. I mean, it's an existing path. It's the current way that people get to and from the 72nd Street for the most part. We're hoping that even with the less direct route, just the fact that it's not as steep of a hill for people, that they will start to prioritize or to favor the entrance at 68th Street. But we believe like both entrances have their purpose, and we're trying to encourage people to go to 68th Street, but there is an existing entrance at Riverside Drive that would still be maintained. It would still be there.
If I could just have one quick follow-up
We're
question.
already
that's all.
10 minutes
All right.
over. I'm so sorry. We
Okay.
can do it during
I'll wait for comments
discussion.
then.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
We have one person online, the board member Barbara. Did you want to ask
I
anything?
think we're already over.
Yeah.
We're over by. I want to get to the public, so, we're gonna do in person for 20 minutes and, we're allowing up to 1 minute per speaker. Unfortunately, we're at capacity, and as you might notice, we have 140 people on Zoom too. And then we have submitted comments as well. So if a couple of you just want to line up there, come to the table here and please, yeah.
And
Thank you.
Onto the table.
And
Jay, you don't need that.
if you're gonna speak, you speak at the head of the table,
Oh, okay.
because that's where the microphone is.
Perfect.
Does it have to be pointed in some direction?
No, I think that's like.
Is that better?
This is for comments and
Oh,
questions.
yeah, don't touch it. I think just
Oh,
scoot
sorry.
a little over. We're right there. It's good.
Scoot it over.
No, scoot yourself over.
Scoot myself over.
Okay.
This is not part of my minute, right?
Please state your name.
Right.
And
My name is Judy Bosworth. I heard it said that this was going to be safer for seniors. As a senior, this does not make me feel safer, and it does not make me feel protected in any way. I wonder if you've given consideration to how seniors leaving a building such as ours, which is on West 72nd, who now are going to have to navigate through 2 bike lanes going in different directions to get from the entrance of their home to a cab, to an Uber, to a ride, to go to a doctor's appointment, to go to a senior center. Do you think that seniors are nimble enough to be able to look this way, to look that way, to navigate when bikes are coming both ways? This is a tremendous concern.
10 seconds.
I don't think seniors are made safer by this. I think they are in peril. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can address that. Hi, this is Colleen. Regarding the seniors and the safety concerns that you just raised, we are working with both Councilmember Brewer and Assemblymember Rosenthal to secure a venue where we will have our safety education come and speak with the seniors and inform them of the changes. We understand that there is a large population of seniors in this area, and we do have, safety education presentations that we deliver to senior centers. We're more than happy to go to a lot of the senior centers and give these presentations. They are the one population that we understand when we make these changes that we have to do our outreach to them. So I understand what you're saying, and we're going to continue to work with that population.
So actually, I will tell you, I'm the former supervisor of the town of North Hempstead. No, she said something, I want to answer it.
Time is going.
It's not the people at the senior centers. It is the people coming out of our buildings that do not have the ability. Just saying.
All right, you're up.
And I just want to add to that we're more than happy to work with the seniors at all of the buildings. We're more than happy to come out there and do the outreach.
20 minutes over.
Okay.
What about the e-bike?
One more comment. Patrick, if you could take down the sharing again, so it's
Yeah.
easier.
Oh,
And I think it'd be easier, actually, DOT, if we just go through all the 1 minute and then you can answer at the end.
Yes,
Because
that's
otherwise
great.
we will
great
have-
idea.
Okay, so 1 minute.
Go ahead.
Lester Wasserman, Tip Top Shoes, Tip Top Kids, West NYC, live on 72nd Street. I own a building on 72nd Street. Every day we get FedEx and UPS. Those deliveries take approximately 40 to 60 minutes apiece. They come in the morning twice, they come in the evening twice. That's 4 hours a day that one lane is completely blocked. That's just my store. I have a gentleman here from Acker Merrill. I'm sure he's in a similar situation. One lane turns into no lanes very, very fast. If God forbid I were to suffer a medical emergency or one of these seniors, how would an ambulance possibly mitigate this to get through to save a life? We are totally stifling and bottlenecking 72nd Street, turning what was a main street into a non-issue. I don't know how this is even a thought, because the ramifications could potentially be deadly. We're talking about seniors getting education, but no one's talking about the e-bikes and the delivery guys that are reckless, that just fly through.
Time's up. Hi, my name's Cliff. I work at Acker Wines. We've been on 72nd Street since '86. I've been there since '96. I've seen this neighborhood change. I've seen everything go. We handle 500 to 1,000 cases of wine in and out of our doors every single week. If we don't have access, we have 5 full-time delivery drivers. If we can't make deliveries, they all lose their job. At this point, this is so negative toward business and so negative toward people we've been pillars in the community. We've made so many donations to local schools and everything else. This is going to force us to move. This is not even palatable for us. And we've been here since before most of you guys. So I don't know what you're thinking about. There's not a single voice for the community and the business on this committee. And we're the ones that are bringing all the people to the street. We're the largest wine auction house in the world. We have offices in Hong Kong, London, and in Switzerland. And we have customers that come to our one showroom in the entire world on 72nd Street. And this is going to eliminate all of that.
Thank you.
And then they come see us.
Hi, I live on 72nd Street. I live about one building from Central Park. And I can tell you, I have a dog. I'm out 3 times a day. So I see the mini buses that bring all the tourists in from the cruise lines that are double parked on 72nd Street. It's not just deliveries, it's buses that park there. So have you thought of where you're going to recommend that they go while the tour groups are traveling through the park? That's one thing. I have a dog. That you want to curb your dog, I'm going to step out in the bike lane and curb my dog. You know, it's very difficult to think in terms, okay, I'm going to step way out into the street, so I'm not messing up the curb, the bike lanes. But more importantly are the people who want to get a cab. Imagine coming out of your building and oftentimes I don't use the doorman to get the cab. So I step out into the bike lane or the street to hail a cab. And let me tell you, I'm where bikes are and bike lanes are on Central Park West, and they are very fast. And I'm lucky I can get through with my dog quickly, but a lot of people can't, and getting a cab is going to be very difficult. I just think you ought to think about that.
Thank you.
My name's Catherine Amira. I live on West 72nd Street. I'm really happy that you had the opportunity to actually hear comments from the taxpayers and the job makers here. Number 2, I echo the concerns. We can't, as seniors, lose and handicapped people and mothers with baby carriages. None of us can lose curb access. That is our lifeblood to getting around the city. It's also we end up counting the number of ambulances that end up on our street carrying people. There's 5,000 people on our street alone, with a high senior population. We need curb access, and it's very difficult. Well, let me go on to a solution. One of the things I don't feel that this committee has considered is what some European communities do, is that they have center protected lanes. Now, at least I see from 72nd Street, a center bike lane would channel bikes. Most of them are going into Central Park. It would channel them straight into Central Park. It would protect them from cars turning right and left. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. In addition to the 5,000 residents that live there, this morning from 8 a.m. to 12:30, there were 62 parked cars, service vehicles, emergency vehicles, 2 scaffolding trailers, and 5 tour buses. Where are they going to park? Anyone want to answer?
They're gonna answer.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And also, I'm a biker. I love biking. I'm scared of e-bikes. They're not marked. They are ungoverned and they can go as fast as they want. If God forbid one of us gets hit, which agency will be accountable?
Did you say?
Stephen, for who will be accountable? If you get hit, they keep going. How are you ever going to find out? They're missiles going down 72nd into Central Park West, where now there's no red light. They've taken out all the red lights. So now there's no lights. So now what? It's gonna create, and they have millions of people every year coming to see the Dakota, to see John Lynn, to see Strawberry Fields. It's a disaster. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jody List. I live on 72nd Street, and I'd like to question the need for this. When I looked at Crash Mapper, which everybody can access, when I took out the questions of the intersections of the avenues, there have been exactly 5 injuries in the past 5 years on bikes or pedestrians or anything. So I question whether or not this is really needed for 72nd Street for 5 injuries. The second thing I'd like to say is I echo what they say, that there is just too much traffic in terms of stopped vehicles for a single lane. You not only have deliveries, but you have the tour buses, you have cabs, you have Ubers, you have deliveries, you have the USPS, FedEx, Amazon, contractors, moving vans, everything. They cannot be just, I don't know how you're going to fit them all in. Also, I'd like to point out that there is no way to go east once you enter the park on a bike. You can only go south. The path feeds to the right, and so you are only able to go south. You cannot go east because there is a curve. So unless you're going to slice up Strawberry Fields, it is not feasible to do this plan.
Yes, Maxine DeSeta, West 103rd Street. My question is, did you contact the fire department as to this design? Can anybody answer that?
DOT will at the end with everyone's comments.
I'm
So
sorry?
DOT will at the end with all of your comments at once. So just
Because
go
what
on.
I see is a disaster, of course. Single lanes in one of the densest areas in Manhattan. This is not a country street. And you cannot have even accessoride. I get accessoride these days. Where is accessoride going to do? In the bike lane? I mean, has anybody thought anything about the actual people that live there? Thank you.
Ira Gershenhorn, West 104th Street. First of all, I saw ambulances and police cars going in the bike lane because they couldn't get through anywhere else. Also, I like this design, it's safe. I'll actually go to 72nd Street now because before I wouldn't. And also, I don't like all the buffers. Because you're talking about when trucks park, just like on West End Avenue, cars drive on those buffered cross-hatched areas. So I think that's a bad design. And also the skinny buffers should be bioswales or something.
Hi, I'm Nancy Sekla. I live on West 97th Street. I've seen the disaster of West 96th Street. This city was planned so that cars can get in and out quickly. 96th Street, 72nd Street, 79th Street is to get the cars on the highway and out. Well, why are we putting a bike lane again on a street that is meant to get cars and reduce congestion? Why aren't these bike lanes on streets, that side streets, 73rd, 71st, right? As a senior who takes care of toddlers, I'm on the buses a lot. Seniors who have walkers, babysitters with carriages cannot go up a step onto the boarding zone, and then get on the bus. It's going to be a disaster. They're going to slow down the buses. They're going to have accidents and they're going to fall. You cannot have a loading zone stepping up for a senior with a wheelchair.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Satara. I live on 74th. I just want to say this proposal is going to be super useful for me biking across the park. It takes me 40 minutes to get to work walking or by bus, and speeding that up is amazing. I was just wondering about in pedestrians in general, has there been any thought about considering raising crosswalks to sidewalk height to reduce e-bike speeds and prioritize pedestrian safety in general? Thank you.
It'll be answered at the end.
Yep.
Hi. I'm gonna try and get through this without sneezing. My name's Austin, born in the neighborhood, I live on 65th Street, above Toga Bike Shops. And basically, if you had to put a gun to my head and tell me to pick one place to have a bike lane, it would be 72nd Street. I cannot think of a better area that's better set up. You talk about the entrances to the parks, but you have all those businesses that use deliveries, both the trucks, but also the bikes too. It is a main street. It should be a complete street that everybody can access, because bikers are taxpayers too. They are residents, they are commuters as well. And let's mention that there's not one, but two local bike shops on that corridor. That does not happen. We can quibble about whether it should be the east side or the west side, whether it should be loading zones or all short-term parking so that everybody can access the curb and not just a few people to store their cars overnight. So you have the space for the deliveries, you have the space for accessoride, but this is gonna be so much safer for bikers. And I bike safer and I bike slower when I'm in the bike lane because I don't have to worry about navigating cars, taking the lane and being so aggressive. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, my name is Al Salsano. I've lived on 72nd Street for 30 years. Number 12, we have an HMO in our building, 15 exam rooms, 250 people a day. There are families getting out of a taxi, a mother with a child, with a walker, if it's a senior, there's somebody coming out in a wheelchair, they're walkers. Those take 3 minutes or more. That's going to block the moving lane. The tour bus they mentioned previously, there are several in the morning. They park in the moving lane, the motor is off, they're there for an hour. There's 2 at a time. When 50 people get out of the bus, move to the park, back again. Those buses have no place to go other than on the south side of the street. I don't understand how you're gonna get this done. There are 900 families on that block. There are deliveries, there is construction, there's demolition, there's an enormous amount of traffic. I don't see how it happens.
Hello, my name is Chris Roberts. I live on West 72nd. I have a question actually about the proposed road. You're basically turning 72nd into 2 separate two-way streets, which is going to, I think it's going to be dangerous, especially on the bike lane. I don't have so much of an issue with people who are pedal biking because it goes at a certain speed, but the e-bikes go incredibly fast. And if you look at what happened on Columbus, you have e-bikes going in both directions, going faster than the speed of traffic, and you're creating a situation basically where you're crossing the street twice. The other question is, with the plan, while it's very beautiful in concept in the pictures, how do you drop off luggage at your building? If you look at our section, you have at least 2 separate cars at a time dropping off luggage, picking people up, dropping people off. That's not taking into account Ubers, taxis, Ubers who are waiting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Felipe Castillo. I own a small business. I'm a private practice addiction psychiatrist on West 85th and Central Park West. And I commute down to this neighborhood via bicycle. The north-south corridors are excellent. They're very safe. They've been demonstrated to be very safe. I feel very safe, and I know I'm very safe. East-west corridors are lacking. So this is super important for cyclists to be safe and other road users to be safe as well. I think some of the issues that have been brought up here are related to enforcement. And I'm also in a community board. I'm Community Board 9, and working with the police department is super important. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but enforcement is a separate issue that should be tackled as well in parallel to this. And if we can do it, y'all can do it. And if y'all can do this, I hope that we can do better bike lanes at CB9. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margaret Ugetta. I lived on 41 West 70th and now I'm an East Sider, so we do know about it. I'm surprised that you would be required to vote on something tonight that is barely known on the east side, that's not fully approved. I concur with your assessment that if 2-lane biking is allowed, the crash factor is increased to a near-death experience. If you have an e-bike going at the top speed, which they do, We already have e-bikes going both directions in a single lane road. Can you consider 73rd or 74th Street for one way for bicycles and one way, the other way for bicycles, and enter the park or the river, the green spaces through one ways, because two way is really dangerous.
Thank you.
And I've been hit, so. Like,
Hey, everyone, Felix Dasenko, live at 64th and Broadway. Looking at some stats here, so I'll be looking at my phone, but I strongly support the DOT's proposal for what are long overdue pedestrian, bike, and safety improvements for West 72nd Street. I am a cyclist and pedestrian and use the corridor most nearly every day. This proposal would bring order to 72nd Street by separating cars from bikes, from pedestrians and other users, and that dramatically would improve safety for all users, not just cyclists. So protected bike lanes are proven to reduce deaths and serious injuries for all users by 18%, pedestrian deaths by 29%, senior age pedestrian injuries by 39%. And on top of the safety piece, I think we can all agree there are tens of thousands of people who come through our neighborhood on a beautiful Saturday or Sunday to use Central Park or Riverside Park. We want to incentivize as many of them to stay in the neighborhood and spend money here, and making 72nd Street a more pleasant place to be with shade trees, separation between pedestrians, cyclists, and cars would, I think, lead more people to spend money here. So thanks so much.
Not if they can't get here, it won't.
So, Rich Robbins, I just have a quick question for DOT and a comment. The question is, what the impact has been on businesses of other treatments like this that you've done. And then the comment is, one thing it seems that a number of people have expressed concerns about, that I hope the committee takes into account, is the need for more loading zones to account for all the deliveries and drop-offs and cabs and Ubers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy Rosenthal, I'm a senior. I've lived in this district for 40 years. I'm on 72nd Street virtually every day as a pedestrian and very frequently as a biker. I've been involved in a crash that injured me on 72nd Street at CPW at that crazy intersection. The science is clear, very clear. We saw the data here. It's not close. The science is clear. This is safer for pedestrians and most safe for senior pedestrians. The science, so you can argue, but the science has been clear. We've seen it in the stats. We've seen it in this neighborhood on places like Columbus.
The seniors getting less accidents, they don't cross the street because they're afraid.
Let him speak. Let me speak.
Well, he's yelling
You
at
had your
these guys,
turn.
they're responding.
This is a lifesaver. I applaud DOT. This went beyond my dreams, so thank you. It's just paint. It can be removed or changed. If it doesn't work, let's try it. Let's do it.
Thank you. Last but not least.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carl Mahaney. I am a frequent.
I applauded everyone.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Carl Mahaney. I'm a frequent daily cyclist on the Upper West Side. I often ride with my 10-year-old son. This kind of treatment is really a basic safety upgrade. We've heard a lot about how tonight about how it's impossible to do, and it will create all sorts of challenges for others in the community. I agree with the previous speaker that the data does not suggest that. And I think DOT, we need to trust the experts in this, that they would not propose something that is not a safety improvement. I, for one, am grateful for the design, and I can't wait to use it with my family. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brett, West 72nd Street. As we talk about this, you have a study from 2020. Since then, we've had another study from 2019 that was implemented for congestion pricing, pushing more traffic up north. You're going to constrict roads that are already, as we've been told many times, double, triple parked. Today alone, I was walking, you see a construction bin for garbage. You see the truck that is there for the project. Then you see the Con Ed truck, you see the UPS truck, you see the USPS truck, all there. Those trucks aren't going to find a place to park on the curb. They're going to double park there, both sides of the street. We will not have this as a thoroughfare for people. And God forbid there is the need for an ambulance. as you've heard from a medical professional who's on the street, as you've heard from seniors, as you've heard from people who need the ambulatory use, you're talking about constricting this.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, we'll have DOT respond now. Thank you.
Maybe start with the question of why not a, bike lane down the center of 72nd or why not bike lanes on 71st and 73rd?
Or any other question?
Yeah, any other questions?
Or any other questions?
So, I mean, to answer that one, center running bike lanes have their place in very certain circumstances. They're very hard to get into and out of. They also require oftentimes a lot of signal work to restrict turns across them. And on a lot of these crosstown streets, we just don't have the time in the signal phasing to add in another dedicated bike phase to get bikes through the center of the roadway. So that is why we did not go with a center running design. They do have their place in very specific instances, but in this case, there are just too many turns that are occurring that we'd have to mitigate them with additional signal phases, which we just don't have the time for. The reason we didn't choose or look at streets that were parallel streets, north to south. This is a direct connection going from the park to from one park to another across. It's also a commercial area. It's where a lot of people want to be anyway. And also, if we were to do any kind of protected design on any of the side streets, because they're much narrower, we'd have to remove all the parking on one side of the street to do that. And we just didn't think that was going to be something that was that the community would have wanted us to do. So we're trying to prioritize a place where we have the widest space and the most width to deal with. Regarding there were some numerous concerns brought up about double parking, and I just want to reiterate, when we make changes like this to a roadway, when we make it harder to double park by removing a travel lane, reducing the width of the roadway, making it more difficult to double park, we find that alone is something that prevents a decent amount of the double parking in the first place. A lot of people either park or double park out of convenience just because there's nothing stopping them from doing so. We'll be reducing the instances of double parking through the design. We'll be further reducing that by providing more curbside space via parking regulations. And if need be, we can target this area with enforcement to try to get anyone who's continuing to not get the message to stop doing that. But that is our approach with the double parking and for the parking regulations. And it's also something that if we find that we need more of a certain reg in a certain area or less of a reg, we can definitely make adjustments to the curbside regulations to provide more loading zones and more spaces as part of a follow-up to this project.
And Patrick, if I can add to that, I think it may be worth pointing out too that, as you showed in the design, there's also in a lot of places a sort of a flush median, which preserves space for the turn lanes to improve the intersection safety, but it also provides a little bit of relief, mid-block where a lot of the double parking and the loading is happening, so that there's still room for vehicles to move by. So it wouldn't, it's not that the street would get jammed up. There's still a little bit of extra maneuverability that's sort of built into the design to still allow for that, the loading and the access. And of course, ideally we, can have more done in the parking lane itself. And as Patrick mentioned, it can be, perhaps more expeditiously done in the, in the double parking lane, but there's a little bit of extra room there as well. And that's, similar to Columbus or Amsterdam, where we have protected bike lanes and businesses receiving deliveries as well.
Yeah, there was another question about the bus islands, about getting to and from the bus islands. all these islands would include ramps to get up and down from the concrete, the raised concrete down to street level, and then across via crosswalk across the bike lane, then up a ramp to the sidewalks. So these would all be ADA compliant for people to be able to easily walk from the sidewalk to the island or from the island back to the sidewalk. I think just regarding just the safety data overall, I mean the vast majority of people who are like the injuries and the crashes that are occurring are people being hit by vehicles. And when we do a redesign of a street like this, we're basically increasing the safety for people from vehicles. So we are slowing the turning vehicles that are turning. We're organizing the roadway by separating the modes. We're providing protection for cyclists. We're shortening crossing distances for people crossing the street. Those are the things that make a roadway safer and reduce the amount of crashes that occur and keep people from getting injured or God forbid killed. So those are our goals in terms of safety when we are trying to redesign a roadway.
We heard a number of concerns from local businesses about their viability after this goes into effect. And we also had a question, what's been the evidence of impact on businesses generally from protected bike lanes like this?
Yeah, it's really hard to do research like that for based on just one factor. There are many reasons why a business will do well or not do well. But I mean, we do find that I mean the beautification component of a protected bike lane or a street redesign like this, where we're able to calm the traffic that's on the roadway. We're able to install trees where we can in the roadway, things like that. Make the roadway a more hospitable place to be, and generally just have a positive increase on foot traffic and other things like that. We've found that we have a study, I think it was on Columbus Avenue. It's a little old, but those are the things we found. Carl, do we have any other more recent studies that you know of?
I mean, there've been quite a few studies that have sort of looked at like, occupancy rates and that they've, done well on streets where we've done these types of complete street redesigns for the reasons that Patrick mentioned. Looked at the sales tax data and, they've generally been beneficial. I think it's also, it's worth pointing out, like Patrick said, people want to spend time there. One of the big goals of this project is, we kind of consider it, a bit of a greenway, right? In the sense that like the idea is to really make this a comfortable, family-friendly type of cycling environment that really does connect to the river and to the park. Because right now, there really aren't these, safe, comfortable, protected bike lane connections to get people from the neighborhood to these, wonderful assets. And so there's a lot of families who would like to bike and who can't. And this really, does bring people down to 72nd and gives them these options to get into the parks. And I think, a lot of the design is really thinking about that and how we can also just improve sort of the general street feel overall and improve its function. But I also think it's worth pointing out, especially on the business side, that like nowadays there's a bit, there is a transition towards a lot of, deliveries being made by bike or by cargo bike, so there's a lot of prepared food deliveries made by delivery workers. So that is, having a safe workplace is, certainly important. In that regard, there's also, last mile deliveries, are being transitioned from trucks onto cargo bikes. And so, we want to provide supportive infrastructure for that as well. And I think, these streets, have a proven track record of increasing the safety for all users, and especially for cyclists who, don't currently have a safe place to ride. And what you actually find, and Hunter College actually had a recent study here where they did some observations around the city, I think of over 180 different intersections. In where you do put in this infrastructure, you find that, cyclists don't ride on the sidewalk any longer because they feel comfortable going into the street. The signal compliance increases when you have infrastructure like this. In this case, I think, cyclists won't be running the red light anyway, because we don't see that happening on wide avenues, but in general, the the behavior is improved with this type of infrastructure. And we also I think there were some comments around the high speeds of e-bikes. It's certainly something that we, as an agency, have been focusing on with comprehensive efforts. We've been having education campaigns. We have been working with the companies that are doing deliveries. There's a brand new delivery worker training that delivery workers have to take. We've also been focusing on folks who are buying e-bikes or using e-bikes just to generally understand sort of how they ride differently and what the rules and expectations are. All of our hundreds, thousands of bike maps have safety data that we hand out at events all over the city. When you do the helmet fittings, there's hundreds of thousands of helmets that are provided for free, and those always come with safety training. So, and I think I obviously there's still work to be done, of course, on behavior. It's a busy city. There's work to be done on all behaviors on street safety, but observationally, it does feel like, or not feel like, we know we've been measuring that, like the behaviors have been improving, and that these types of messaging and training courses and targeted outreach have been effective, but it's something that will continue to increase, and also work with the police department to focus on all on the most dangerous forms of behaviors that affect all street users, and so that including cyclists.
Okay, I think we want to move to the online comments and questions.
Yeah, okay, so we'll do that for 20 minutes. We went over this time, but that's fine. We want to make sure everyone has a chance to speak. And if everyone can just speak for 1 minute, and we'll do the same format where DOT will speak at the end. So we'll start with Claire Kinsella. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
Yeah, after allowed to talk 1 minute, but then also everyone else who's interested in speaking, you can raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, we'll go in order. Yep, Claire, you're up.
Hi. I don't know if my video's on. Is my video on?
No, we don't do video.
Oh, okay. Well, what does matter? I can't put the video on. I'm vehemently, I disagree with this. I'm vehemently against it. I do live on 72nd Street. There's been so many good points that have come up. One of the things that has to get involved is the ADA, because this is definitely against elderly people, disabled people, curbside in and out. I totally 100% agree with the business community, Akron Merrill, all of the businesses, the small businesses. It's a chokehold. In the presentation of DOT, they referred to 72nd Street as the spine of the city. Well, then you're breaking its back. I refer to 72nd Street, where I've lived for many years, as the heart of the city, and it's having a heart attack if you go through with it. So I vehemently disagree.
Sarah?
You're entitled.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all for taking the time. I know I only have a minute. Based on the presentation and what questions the representatives were willing to answer, it seems consideration was only given to cyclists. I am a resident on 72nd Street. You stated that this idea was actually engendered in 2020, but as someone else already stated, pedestrian and cyclist traffic has only increased in the years since then. As I understand it, the proposal does not provide any benefits to the city or residents or businesses here, maybe with the exception of the bike store. Rather, it would only reduce city revenue by removing the parking spaces, not collect any revenue from the cyclists, increase danger to pedestrians due to many cyclists already currently disregarding traffic rules and ordinances and signage, which many, as you noted, visitors to the parks are foreigners, not saying one way or the other, but some do not even recognize the pictographs that are provided on signs in the park. I believe that the DOT may have already removed the pedestrian crossways within Central Park, and that's a really great example to let you know it has increased danger to through the
Thank
park.
you so much.
Thank you.
We have Samir Lavingia. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
That's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. My 1 minute starts now. My name is Samir Lavingia. I live nearby. I have a lot of friends who live on 72nd, on 70th, and 71st around there, and I often will bike up or down the Greenway and then make my way over. So I support this project wholeheartedly, and I think it's great. It'll give me an opportunity to get to my friends easier and safer. My parents are seniors and they live in Manhattan as well, and they're up on the Upper West Side all the time. And the statistics from the DOT saying that this actually will make it safer for pedestrians and seniors gives me comfort, especially as my parents age in the city. So I'm very excited about that as well. So fully in support. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Samir. Next up is Scott Hoskin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott, and I'm a resident of CB7 and a regular user of 72nd Street as someone who walks, bikes, and takes transit. Right now, 72nd Street feels both unsafe and unpleasant. Crossing distances are long, there's no protected bike lanes, and nearly all the space is dedicated to the moving and storing of cars, even though the vast majority of people on this corridor are not traveling by car. This redesign is a necessary rebalancing of street space to better reflect how people actually use 72nd Street. As someone who bikes, I try to use protected bike lanes whenever possible. The data is crystal clear that bike lanes save lives and make everyone safer by reducing conflicts with drivers and pedestrians. And they make me feel significantly safer since I don't have to constantly worry about being run over by someone speeding next to me in a car. There are currently no crosstown protected bike lanes in this district north of 55th Street, and 72nd Street is a perfect opportunity to start filling this gap in the bike network, connecting Riverside Park to Central Park, and creating a safer route across the Upper West Side. I support this proposed redesign and implore the DOT to use data and listen to all voices, not just the loudest.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Next up, we have Daniel Sutton.
Yes, thank you. I support this proposal. I think it would be safer for the community and for everybody who uses 72nd Street and walks around it. So, that's my comment. I just wanted to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Nice. Next up, we have Ashley Graham.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yes.
I live on 73rd Street and I bike my 6 and my 3-year-old to school across town every day. So I'm on 72nd Street on my cargo bike every morning, and then I have to go back at noon to pick up my 3-year-old and back again at 3 to pick up my daughter. And the stretch on 72nd is very stressful to ride because people are constantly U-turning. The double parked people are loading and unloading, so they'll pop out at any time. And then also I'm trying to look at cars coming at me from behind. And when I cross into the park, you know, I sit in the middle of the turn lanes because I don't want to be hit by people turning left or people turning right. So I'm sitting between cars, which is also a little scary. So anything that let pedestrians know that bikes are coming into the park would be great there too, because I get frequently stepped in front of and I don't want to hit anybody or anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Next up, we have Barack Friedman.
Hey, everybody, Barack Friedman. I support this project. I'm a physician. I work on the Upper West Side. A lot of the physicians who work on the Upper West Side ride bikes to work. And if you notice that the city bike stations around the hospitals are some of the busiest in the city. So, you know, as a physician, this is going to help all road users. It's going to keep pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers safe. And the city has a responsibility to do that, as does CB7. So in summary, I strongly support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Barack. Next up, we have Mikey Pearl. Mikey?
Hello.
Oh, sorry, Mickey. Sorry.
No problem. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for your time, and thank you for the DOT for, you know, bringing forward scientific backed data. I'm a mother of a young child and I'm very excited to bike with her across 72nd Street. I wouldn't do it now. It's just too scary. But if there was a bike lane there, oh boy, would I really love to be able to make it to Riverside and to park with her. Right now, I wouldn't sit on 72nd Street at a cafe or at a restaurant. It's just too busy. But if there were two fewer, car lanes, more bikes, more trees, a better atmosphere, you know, we can really revive 72nd the same way that some of the open streets in Brooklyn have been revived. I really understand that elderly folks have concerns, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. Next up, we have Janet Lift. Janet, are you with us?
Can hello, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. DOT, thank you very much for this presentation. It's very exciting. Something I just want to point out, cycling is an efficient and fun form of transportation that everybody should have access to. It's only as good as the weakest link. And women, there's a report that came out recently that women are twice as likely to ride on protected infrastructure. And as a woman, I very often come across on 72nd Street. I never go over to the park on the other side because it's too scary to cross on 72nd Street. The other thing is whether or not the bike lane is used, it is open, will be an overall more pleasant street. And there are a lot of statistics out there showing that businesses actually improve when you reduce car traffic and improve the pedestrian experience. Hudson Square is an example that came out recently, and they have their vacancy rate is one of the lowest in the city. Thank you.
10 seconds.
Thank you, Janet. I definitely want to look at that study. That's interesting. Next up is Judy Paulson.
Yes, thank you. This is Judy Polson. I'm on West 67th Street. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a skeptic about this proposal. I have 4 questions and points to make. First of all, the presentation mentioned there will be signage in and around the protected bike lanes so that bike riders know they are supposed to yield to pedestrians, especially around the bus stops. How will that be enforced is my question. Second point, more specifics would be helpful on the impact of bus service, especially the M72, with having only one travel lane for all traffic. I'd like to hear more about that. Thirdly, it does seem odd to prioritize bike riders that are just passing through over the access needs of established small businesses who are already struggling. I'd like to hear more about that prioritization. Lastly, we mentioned science was mentioned earlier in a comment. I would like to understand the source of the data that was being given. I keep being told that, the data indicates hardly any pedestrians are ever hit by bikes, it's all cars, but we know that people hit by bikes are rarely able to report. The percentages that were given regarding the efficacy of protected bike lanes to keep pedestrians safer are very precise, so I wonder what the our numbers are. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Next up, we have Dan Stern.
Ironically, I'm out on 72nd right now. I live at the corner of 72nd and Riverside. And there were a couple comments made earlier about the Islamic Center. I support religion, but it is insane the amount of traffic. And I'm confused that if the vote happens tonight, the DOT said, we'll continue to consider that piece. I really think if that's not thought through, it's going to be a problem. It's a problem today. It'll be more of a problem tomorrow if you implement it and don't consider the impact of that congestion. I think some of the board members or the community members were pretty vocal about that. I just want to reinforce. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dan. Next up, we have Chris Sanders.
Hello. Yes, so I'm the one keeping the lights on for the businesses on 72nd Street. I spend hundreds of dollars a month. And I am here to strongly support DOT's proposal for dedicated loading zones and a proper protected two-way bike lane on 72nd Street. A two-way bike lane on 72nd Street, it's like fly tape for bikes. It attracts 90% of the riders into a predictable, protected space. This gets bikes off the sidewalk and slows down the traffic speed. The most dangerous thing on 72nd Street is the double parking. Creating dedicated loading zones and drop-off spots will give Ubers and trucks legal space to pull over. This keeps traffic moving, protects people exiting vehicles, and ensures emergency services aren't stuck behind a truck. Safety isn't a luxury. Thank you, DOT, for this. We need this at a time when gas prices are like $4 plus a gallon. Oh my God, I'm paying a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next up, we have Hindi Schachter.
That's me. I hope everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? Great. I represent 2 constituencies that need this bike lane, First, I represent the constituency of family members who have died in a crash close to 72nd Street. My husband died in a crash in 2014, close to 72nd Street. In his memory, we need safer ways of getting around as cyclists and as pedestrians. Second, I represent senior citizen cyclists in their 70s and in their 80s. We may be slower, but more than ever, we need safety. So from two parts of my being, I urge you not to prevaricate with this project and to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Next up, we have Deborah Kersner.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm a mother and of three, and myself and my family often bike through the Upper West Side. I bike daily home through 68th Street. I actually called in today to advocate for a connection from 68th to 72nd. So I was very excited to see that that's part of the plan, as 68th is a strong way to connect to Riverside. I just want to speak to how hard it is for people like myself, women and children, to use unprotected bike lanes. There are none from 59th to 110th. When I try to bike with my kids from Central Park to Riverside, I don't feel great. I usually try and go with my husband or with friends. We once tried to go from Central Park to Riverside for the annual carnival. It was a harrowing experience to do that on 72nd with kids. I think if we want safer, more responsible biking, we have to make safer, more responsible options for families. And so I'm very excited to see this, and thank you for making it a possibility.
Thank you, Deborah. And now we have another Deborah Brodheim.
Yes, hello. Thanks very much. I'm a strong supporter of the DOT proposal. I live on 73rd and West End, actively use all the bike lanes, use them all today, and commute by bike when I can. I also feel that for my elderly in-laws who live down in Lincoln Towers, I've seen on Amsterdam Avenue that where they have the protected bike lane, it's so much safer for them to be able to cross, as you say, by having the protected bike lane, making it easier to make it partway, and then the rest of the way across. Thank you very much. I'm very supportive.
Thank you. Next up, we have Steve Zortion. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
That's fine. I'm on 72nd Street. I live on 72nd Street. I think there are a couple of things that the DOT is missing. This is a residential neighborhood, and it seems like most of the bike lanes have been in non-residential neighborhoods. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And one thing I noticed, a lot of the responses to questions has been, well, we'll have signs up, or we'll explain the laws. The bike lane on Central Park is a disaster. People are going both ways. People don't look at the red lights. They're not wearing helmets, and it's not being enforced. I think you first need to start enforcing the law for these bike riders before you make more bike lanes. It's just getting more and more dangerous for pedestrians. All we're talking about are bikers. There are other people involved. And also, besides the senior citizens, there are kids. We're in a residential neighborhood. There are kids coming home from school and stuff. A two-way bike lane is a disaster. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next up, we have Megan Brady.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Brady and I live on the Upper East Side, but I spend a lot of time on the Upper West Side running and spending time with family. I want to express my support for protected bike lanes because they are a proven way of making our streets safer. I unfortunately know firsthand what can happen when we put the needs of cars ahead of pedestrians and bikers when designing our streets. My roommate and close friend, Carling Mott, was killed on July 26, 2022, while biking from our home on the Upper East Side to her job in Times Square. She was only 28. Carling's death and the death and injuries of others impacted by traffic violence could have been prevented with differently designed streets that put pedestrian and biker safety at the forefront. In a city that emphasizes its many public transportation options, especially walking and biking, the infrastructure across the city needs to keep up in order to keep people safe. Protected bike lanes provide a concrete step in doing that. Those who love Carling are committed to making New York safer in her honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next up, we have Jill Goldstein.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I've lived on 72nd Street between West End and Riverside for 19 years. It's ludicrous to think that the parking issues around the Islamic Cultural Center will be improved. As it is, the drivers block in everyone there who is parked legally. There's zero enforcement now, and you are saying that we should basically hope that there might be enforcement and that people will choose on their own not to inconvenience others. The fact is that people will continue to go there and continue to park there because there are no other options. To quote Patrick Kennedy from tonight, what he was saying was, we're hoping to keep the roadways clear. We're trying to get some enforcement. Typically, we find that the behavior reduces itself. We think having the additional parking closer to the Islamic Cultural Center will help. We need to continue to monitor, but we're looking for better solutions. If maybe we can target the area with enforcement. Enforcement needs to happen first. The laws need to be enforced first. This is happening way too fast. Nothing is being done on this particular block.
Jill, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I just want to also say we're at 20 minutes, but we'll extend it for another 10 minutes because we have another 20 people that want to talk. So, okay, next up is, yeah, go ahead.
Let me just say, if you can do it in less than a minute, that would be great. You can just say I support or I don't support. We thank you.
They can submit written.
Yeah, they could submit.
Oh, yeah, and you can submit written
Yeah.
notes, and I actually have some tonight. So, okay, great. Susan Vine, if you can go for it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to thank the DOT for the presentation tonight and the community board for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'm also very concerned about this proposal, and as it stands, I have to say I'm very much against it. I'm a senior. I'm a young, active senior. I live on West 96th Street, so I have some interest, some experience with this kind of stuff. But the problem with the curbs on the getting onto the buses is just completely unacceptable. That you can't have people having to go cross bike lanes where these are the people that are going in every direction and not paying attention to any law, anything about speed, anything about turning, anything about the lights. I feel like I take my life in my hands when I cross the street because of the bikes. So you can't cross a bike lane. It's just not right. And once you have,
Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, next we have Christy Papanikolaou. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
That was fine. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I am vehemently against this proposal. I am curious about you starting the presentation and stating that it was basically a fait accompli based on a study that was done 5 years ago. I'd love the DOT to explain how that would be relevant for today. I'd also like to better understand the source of this quote unquote scientific data. And I will also add to the conversation about the short-sightedness of go ahead and build and then we'll fix and repair and hope that the rules and regulations will fall into place. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. Next up is Carrie Michaels.
Hi, am I on?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. I only hope that Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Chattergoon really listen to what the community is saying, because so often we are gaslit, and no matter how much public concern, outrage, clarifying of statistics and facts that people do, it's ignored. And the DOT just rails right through with their own agenda. So A, I'd like to be heard and not treated like I'm in a fascist regime of gaslighting. That's one thing. The second thing is I am a cyclist and the bike lanes are ridiculous. A two-way bike lane is stupid. I don't care where you put it. It's hazardous to pedestrians, it's hazardous to the elderly, it's impossible for the disabled. How are you expecting the blind to cross these streets? Seriously. This is for micromobility. Let's face it, this is for e-delivery bikes. That the fact that Mr. Kennedy referred to other bikes as good old-fashioned bicycles, not cool. I ride a regular bike and I ride it well, and I have several, and I fundraise on it. So please don't tell me that an old-fashioned bicycle, I want to know what I'm going to be protected.
Thank you so much, Barry. Next up, we have Mark Gadd.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I wanted to get on here and show my support for this plan. It makes me emotional to realize that we have people in the DOT that think about our spaces the way you guys are thinking about it. Cities are for people, are not for your metal boxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Next up is Lynn Caporale. Lynn, are you there? You're muted.
Nope.
Okay, we're gonna have to go ahead. I'm sorry. Next up is Daniel Cohen.
Hello.
Cohen? Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, we
Hi.
can.
So I live on the Upper West Side. I support the bike lane, and in the spirit of brevity, I'll just leave it at that. Strong support for my bike lanes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was a record.
Yeah, thank you. Next up is Oliver Chesler.
Hi, good evening. My name is Oliver Chesler. I understand the reasoning behind this plan. However, I do have some concerns. First of all, the M72, often, a lot of seniors ride that bus. So therefore, the loading times for the bus can be upwards of 30 seconds. That when you think about it, that amount of time adds up. And also, like other people have been concerned about, the Islamic Center. These people, they don't care about the enforcement. They do what they want to do. They don't care. And so if we're really going to do this, I need to see real enforcement going on in these streets. Tow trucks, police officers, tickets, bada bing, bada boom. Also, are you removing that right turn lane for the West Side Highway from 72nd Street?
10 seconds.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Next up is Lydia Unfried.
Hi, yes, I'm Lydia Unfried. I live on 72nd. I have for more than 20 years. I'm concerned about the residents who will be separated from transportation by a chaotic two-way bike lane and possibly some kind of concrete barrier with uncertain loading times for, unpacking your car, or it seems like the residents, and it is a very, very dense residential block, have not been thought of in what is in theory a very good plan. I just really worry about the safety of crossing from our building's entrance to do anything. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lydia. Next up, we have Rachel Grosso Hodges.
Hello, CB7 and NYC DOT. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to wholeheartedly express my support for this redesign of West 72nd Street. I cannot express how much safer, better for business, better for people riding the bus, and honestly livable this will make our neighborhood. I'm a resident of the Upper West Side. I work here, and I think I would redirect everyone to the economic benefits of sustainable streets that NYC DOT published in 2014 that proves that we need this for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Next up, we have Ann Gruber.
Hi.
I didn't hear the entire presentation, but I am pro safety for all, and I don't have the perfect answer to how to make that happen. But I do want to just go on record and implore you to keep in mind, those of us with disabilities, we don't have the luxury of walking to a corner or taking extra steps sometimes. When a car leaves me off across the street and I have to cross it, it's horrible. So I don't really understand the plan because I didn't hear that part of the presentation. I just really want you to keep us in mind when you do finalize the plan and implement it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, I'll do one more from Zoom. I'm really sorry, but we already extended by 10 minutes. And we just want to get your questions and comments addressed by DOT. And then we also need to have committee discussion. So the last up, and please submit your comments to our board. We accept letters, so we'll definitely review that before a full board meeting. Okay, the next up is Celeste Miller.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes. Thank you.
So I live on West 73rd, by the way. I think the weakness in this plan is about registration of bikes and enforcement of whatever laws and changes are made. That's like a serious issue right now. I was also, this is the one other thing I'll say, I was really offended actually by what Ms. Chattigoon said when seniors were speaking, and her answer to that was very marginalizing and condescending to seniors, where she said, well, we'll do education of the seniors. So some real issues were brought up by seniors, and I really feel those need to be listened to, and the focus does need to be on registration of bikes before all of this takes place.
Thank you, Celeste. Okay, that is it for the public comment. We'll just have DOT if there is a comment or question that was unique that you didn't already hear before, if you could please address that. It's 8:41, and then we still want to do committee discussion, and then we still have a street naming application that we have to review. So yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best here. So there's a comment about ADA compliance or just people being able to get onto and off of the concrete islands. Once again, all of any concrete we're building, we would be installing ramps and adequate markings and signage for people to get from sidewalk to bus stop to sidewalk. There were, I think, some comments about bus throughput. I mean, buses are, I mean, they're included in traffic. We actually find that buses, it's easier for buses to stop in lane. It leads to a quicker stop, more efficient stop than from having to pull to the curb. So we find that we actually increase bus throughput by putting bus stops out in lane. There were questions about where our data comes from. Safety data comes from, I believe it's New York State now, or NYPD. I forget which the source is. Carl, is it NYPD now?
Those are the reported crashes that comes from NYPD.
Yeah, NYPD.
I think that I mean, there's a few data sources, right? So we always count volumes of the different street users for all of our projects. We do that before and we do that after, so we understand sort of the way that this street changed based on the project, and we use that to evaluate our the project and to see whether or not we need to make individual changes for that or for understanding just the results of our work and moving forward to always improve. But we use that, we did, and then that data were available just from we were looking at the PD data and volume data to really understand risk and risk exposure. And so that's where you saw a lot of the data on safety. And as Patrick mentioned earlier, these are the vast majority of the crashes, of course, occur between and especially the severe crashes occur from pedestrians being hit by drivers, and so that's what's being reported. There are, of course, underreported crashes that happen where there aren't injuries or there are more minor injuries. We know that we're working actively as a city to work better with the hospital system to better understand what that looks like. That's, of course, true for both pedestrians as well as cyclists who are hit by drivers. So we don't fully understand it, but the data does certainly account for the most severe of injuries.
There was a question about whether you had consulted with the FDNY, also the Mayor's Office of Disabilities, Small Business. Did you consult with these groups?
Yes, we did. And those groups reviewed the project and we got a certificate sign off for the proposal. And I just want to add to the comment that was made by Celeste. I understand and we understand, the agency understand that the seniors are a vulnerable population. And it comes where it's very uneasy where they would have to cross bike lanes, especially when cyclists do not yield and do not follow the rules of the road. Our agency, the New York City Department of Transportation, we are more than willing to go above and beyond to work with the senior population in this, particular area, to do a lot of education and outreach. As I mentioned earlier, we have a safety education division that works very closely with coming to a lot of senior centers, giving up very informative presentations, safety pamphlets. And we're willing to do that with a lot of the residential buildings that have a large volume of senior population. We're going to coordinate that. We're going to work very closely with Councilmember Brewer's office as well as Assembly Member Linda Rosenthal's office to make that happen. So I just want to clarify that. It's not that, we don't care about the seniors. We do care about them. And a lot of the work that we are doing here really revolves around their safety.
Great, thank you so much. If that's it, then we're ready for committee discussion.
Just wanted to mention that we got emails from the public to the board office. We got 11, 10 of them were in support. One of the ones in support was from the mother of Carleen Mott, who was the woman who was killed on the east side on, I think it was 65th Street.
No, that was 85th.
85th, sorry, right.
You emailed that to everyone, so everyone has.
Yeah, we emailed it. We emailed it to the committee.
The other one is the president of the board at the Dorchester Towers condominium, and they're also in support. So just want to point that out. Okay, are we ready for committee
What's the
discussion?
time number?
I wanted to do 20 minutes, but we're at 8:46, so if we can do 15 minutes.
But
that
for
would be
each
great.
member,
1 minute.
just 1 minute?
Yeah.
Have to talk fast. Okay.
Okay, let's, pass. Who'd like to?
Wow.
Doug?
I'm gonna pass, but I'm a reserve.
Okay, yes. Carrie?
Same.
Pass, Sue?
Pass as well.
Yes, Jay?
Take a guess.
Everybody-
He can have my minute.
Good, okay.
Believe me, he's gonna.
So, just a general observation. First of all, on process, okay, I asked this question before we started, and I will reiterate. I don't think that this is a presentation of a proposal with a receptiveness to ideas possibly being incorporated. I feel it's been presented with respect to the hardworking and well-intentioned people at the Department of Transportation. This has been a description of a project that is in the works.
Yep.
And just, I want to parrot something that someone said, and it relates. It relates to two-way bike lanes. The most dangerous crossings in our community district are I'm gonna keep talking if you want me to shut up. I will, I have 2 more sentences.
I don't think we should do it. That's okay. Keep going. Give him respect.
The most dangerous crossings, pedestrian crossings, are those on the avenues where you have to cross a bike lane and then the roadway. Someone described it perfectly. It's like crossing the street twice. Two-way bike lanes will be crossing the street 3 times. I think they will enhance the danger, not diminish it. I think that so much of this anticipated success of this project, based on what we've heard, is contingent on enforcement and accountability, with a little wishful thinking thrown in. And I find it extraordinarily hypocritical that so many of the same people who are supporting this are the same people who oppose enforcement and accountability on a regular basis. The reasons I leave you to your own speculation, whether it's certain affiliations, participation in promotions, or what have you. But I find it to be unaccountably inconsistent. And I'm a no.
Two quick things. I sent around to the full committee via email while conversation was going on, what we passed in 2020, which was about West 72nd Street. It may just be for a refresher for those who weren't on the board back then, just to read through what we passed 47-6-1, which was basically for a study for this. So that's just the first thing. I want to do whatever's safest for the neighborhood. I'm largely supportive of this proposal. I know a lot of time got put into it. I do think certain things need to be addressed, including the pinch point at 72nd by the cultural center. The points at 72nd Street, as Terry brought up, as we head into the park. And then my biggest overriding concern is just if this is truly going to be something that is a true crosstown lane. I'm a little nervous about supporting something that doesn't necessarily have support across like the park and on the other side of the park as well. I think for this to be truly successful, it really needs to be a full crosstown effort. And also I have some reservations about the spread of other bike lane extensions, however they might be put forward on the transverses that go, and the reason I care about that is because of emergency vehicles and other things. So I think if 72nd can be a solution for the cyclists and make that the primary way to get across town, I'm more inclined to support it than a sort of what the response that DOT gave tonight, which seemed to be like, oh, this is going to be potentially one of many. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Okay, I hope I'll get a couple people's minutes here. I'll try to be quick. So I'm a supporter of safe cycling and safe pedestrians, should not be run over. My husband, who's 78 years old, commutes by bike every day to his office in West Midtown. He's got 2,000 city bike rides. He comes home and says, I'm terrorized about Columbus Circle. He doesn't use the Central Park West bike lane because it's so dangerous with bikers breaking every rule. He has never, and I asked him this week, had any complaint about safety on 72nd Street, even though in both directions he goes several blocks on 72nd Street. Second, with regard particularly to the Islam Cultural Center, the mosque, there's never been any enforcement. And if any time we hear on any proposal, whether it's this one or any other, oh, well, enforcement will solve the problem. There is no enforcement. NYPD on any issue that you might call quality of life, and this falls within that general category. They're too busy solving crimes. They don't do it. The most that'll happen is they might have a little one-day thing where they do something that people were double parked, give them a few summonses, then the police go do something else and everybody's back the next day. But they've never, ever had any enforcement at the cultural center. I want to say one more thing if I can. No, two, sorry. Are you able to get, Patrick, the slide that, never mind, we talked about it before. The path that is the primary pedestrian and kitty and doggy path into Central Park, into Riverside Park, right, that primary entrance. Some years ago, some park manager put up a sign saying, bikers have to dismount. Ken and I worked to get that reversed, because we support cycling. But that was before e-bikes. I would strongly suggest following up on what I said earlier about not wanting cyclists to come careening across and on their e-bikes and then using that path, that you worked with the Parks Department to get signs requiring cyclists to dismount on that short area of pathway from the corner to the, then there's the ramp that they walk down, ride down. That would help with regard to people who want to go north, because people who want to go north, they're not going to go to 68th Street and turn around. That's not reasonable. Finally, if I could just have one more moment, are you able to show the slide where you showed these two pedestrian safety zones, one on the north side and the proposed one on the south side? Are you able to show us that while you're looking for it? Some years ago, Colleen will remember that, when Vision Zero, I think it was called Vision Zero, which was a program to try to reduce pedestrian fatalities or fatalities in general, suddenly had a lot of money, and DOT came looking for projects. And they came and they decided that our corner was one, the corner of 72nd. We said nobody asked for it. There was no history of any real danger there. But DOT came and they did a number of things. They wanted to do a pedestrian, these beige things on the south side. And fortunately, me and the neighborhood talked them out of that. But they did one on the north side. And so I would encourage you not to do that little strip on the south side. It has no benefit. We talked you out of it the last time. Don't do it. On the north side, there's a much bigger, and you showed it on your slide, Patrick, zone. As we correctly predicted, as we also in the neighborhood said, that's not a great idea either. But when there's ice and snow, nobody clears it. Nobody clears trash. It's supposed to protect pedestrians, but in fact, what happens is people using the mosque and maybe others use it as a parking space. And when it's not filled with people using it as a parking space, it's used as a driving space for people around the corner. There it goes. So it's had zero benefit and a lot of disadvantages. And when it's covered with ice and snow, you can't even walk in it. And if it's not covered with ice and snow, you're dodging cars. So my last point is I strongly encourage you to eliminate both of those supposed pedestrian spaces, which are more harmful than they are helpful.
Okay. Last night I attended the Public Safety Committee, and we spent almost the whole evening talking about the ability to identify bikers so that they could be held liable. My point last night is a much better situation is to not have the accidents, not have the crashes, not have the injuries in the first place. And that's why I'm delighted that the DOT came to us with this, because there's only two places. It's the street and the sidewalk. That's it. And if there's not safe biking in the street, they will be on the sidewalk. It's a guarantee. If you don't want the bikes on the sidewalk, put them in the street. I'm a biker and I'm a driver and I'm a pedestrian. If I feel like I'm unsafe on the street, I would go onto the sidewalk, true admission. The point is that by making a safe place in the street, a dedicated space for bikers, you're going to get them away from the pedestrians. If you treat people like outlaws, they're going to act like outlaws. So it's important to have a dedicated space for the bikers. That's my main point. A couple of small points. And you've heard all these points again. Loading zones. For business, it's absolutely essential to have loading zones. We have such a shortage of loading zones here. I urge the DOT, I know that the plan hasn't really been fully fleshed out on this. I urge them to put in as many loading zones. It's pro-business, it's pro-safety. People talked about the ambulances. Ambulances can fit through the bike lane and bikes could get out of the way in seconds. Arguably, it makes it safer and easier for ambulances in a true emergency to get to where they need to go. We talked about, Elizabeth mentioned about crosstown. Fully crosstown would be great, but the point is, even if the east side doesn't happen, Riverside Park, I think that's the most used bike lane, the one along the Hudson. That's the most used bike lane, and this would provide a connection to the most important park in the city, which actually, when you're on the drive, gives you access to the Upper East Side, it gives you access to Midtown. So yes, that would be ideal, but it would still be an enormous improvement for people using the most heavily used bike lane in the nation have access to all these different neighborhoods, even if they didn't have access to East 72nd Street. And the final point is the cultural center. I drive on 72nd all the time. I've actually encountered triple parked cars having to, admitting to 2 traffic violations, like actually crossing the double yellow line to get to the highway because I use it. I live on 68th. I use the 72nd to get to the highway. The point is that there is the cultural center is an enormous problem, whether or not we have this bike lane, and it's a separate problem. And the last thing I'll say, and this I've said literally on every meeting, the perfect should not be the enemy of the good. Yes, this is something that is just, it's a plan. I am guarantee it will need to be tweaked if it goes in, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think, again, I applaud the DOT for doing it.
Can I ask one question?
I'm gonna.
Very, very quick question. And it's not about my opinion.
No.
I have a question about the study.
No.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about process a little bit. I've been a member of this committee for a long time, and I was here in 2020 when we passed this resolution. I want to be really careful, and it's really going to be something I'm going to be thinking about in our future meetings and our resolutions. When we ask for a study, and I've said it myself, I'm not a.
Didn't say study.
I'm sorry, a proposal,
Yeah.
okay. But when we ask for a proposal or we've asked for studies, I think we've said proposals are better. We often say, what are we afraid of a proposal? It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. But then I can understand through some of our whereases in this particular resolution that we passed, that you could say it was a tacit approval when we get the proposal. But that's really not what it should be. I do have great respect for, I have great respect for Colleen and Danielle and everybody else at DOT who worked so hard on this, and I know their intentions are very good. But I don't like it being a fait accompli. I do also have a problem with what I believe is a lack of outreach to the business community. Somebody asked, is anyone involved? We have some people that spoke tonight that are business owners on this block ×4, right? Because Mr. Wasserman owns a building, owns 2 businesses, and lives on the block, and he was never reached out to. That is a problem for me. Acker Merrill, obviously world famous. So anyway, our resolution did call that it said it should include the infrastructure to protect pedestrian crossing on 72nd Street, loading zone sufficient to meet the demand for deliveries to businesses and residences along the street. I don't know that we've satisfied that yet, or the DOT has satisfied that yet. And also, of course, outreach to seniors, which we've heard a lot. As it relates to predictability, I mean, I understand that logic that if you have a protected bike lane, the odds are many people will use that bike lane. And this is an open question. I don't know if it's a fact or not. The question is, if we do have a 2-way protected bike lane, are bikers also allowed to use the other remaining 2 travel lanes, or are they restricted to the bike lane? So if they're restricted, okay, well, that's the answer. How is that?
If it's obstructed, then they can use.
If it's obstructed, I can understand. So, all right, so I don't know that it's gonna be. Now, my last suggestion, and I don't know if this is even technically possible, but we've been talking a lot in this committee as it relates to the TSP, that's the transit signal prioritization. And I wonder, and again, this is way beyond my area of expertise, if a bus is pulling up on 72nd Street, can that mid-block crossing automatically put a red signal to cars and bikers until that bus has loaded and unloaded the passengers? Is that even possible? Is it practical? I don't know. It was just something that I came up, and that's it. Thank you.
Can you answer that, Patrick?
I mean, for transit signal priority is basically so the buses can get a head start on, and typically on a crowded roadway where there's a lot of other vehicles. If having a bus create a situation where there's a red light at a stop, on a cross street, it's difficult because a lot of the major avenues are just timed with themselves, they're coordinated with themselves. There's no coordination typically on the cross streets because the avenues are all coordinated with each other. or like, the streets on, or the intersections on the avenues are coordinated. But
we know that it's a matter of law. If a school bus were to stop, vehicles cannot move in any direction past that school bus, right?
yes,
That
if it
signal
has the sign, yes.
I'm talking about something that's analogous to that or similar to that. I'm very concerned about the thousands of passengers that will come and board and depart on buses that have to cross two-way bike lanes. I want to know if there's a better way to mitigate the risk. And I ask to the experts that are on this meeting, can you figure out a better way so we can feel, that passengers can feel safe when they're entering and departing the bus?
So there will be at the bus stops, there will be crosswalks crossing the like the places where people would be getting off or on the bus islands, and those crosswalks would include stop bars and signage, which is stop for pets.
Carrie, anybody else? Last chance to speak? Okay. So I'm gonna say, there's been a lot of concerns about two-way bike lanes. There's a bike lane in Brooklyn. I don't know whether people know about it. I ride on it about a couple of times a month, called Schermerhorn Street. Went in a few years ago. It's a two-way bike lane, on the side. It's absolutely fantastic. And it has businesses and residences, most of the businesses. The section that I use goes through about 6 blocks. There are hotels. Some people have to cross the bike lane to get to their cars sometimes from the hotels. It works fine. Every once in a while, you have to stop and there's somebody trying to drag a suitcase across, but you see them, they see you. Speaking as a cyclist, it's the best part of my trip to Brooklyn. I've been on the board, in terms of enforcement, there are two kinds of enforcement. There's the police enforcement and then there's self-enforcing infrastructure. This plan already has built-in self-enforcing infrastructure so that it's going to slow cyclists, slow cars at the turns, shorten the crossing distances for pedestrians. These are all the things that amount to the 39% reduction in senior injuries that we saw on the screen. That's self-enforcing infrastructure. Nobody can take that away, and it works. I've been on this board long enough to see the first protected bike lane in 2010, Amsterdam Avenue, Central Park West. Every time this came up, we got the same concerns. Bad for business, increased congestion, and be less safe. And every single time, it's actually proven to be good for business, safer for all road users, and has not increased congestion. And now it's very difficult, for me at least, to think about Amsterdam Avenue, Columbus Avenue, the way it used to be, as just completely car dominated. It takes a little adjustment, but very quickly we get used to it. And the same is going to happen with 72nd Street.
Okay, great.
So,
We have a draft resolution here that I shared with you this afternoon. After all the comments today, they're all super valid and I really value everyone's time. So we added in that we urge DOT to consider every comment that they received. So I hope you had a chance to read the resolution. It's not a long one. So if we could move ahead with the vote, that would be great.
Call the question.
Second. Great.
Are you amenable to any proposed?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so I recognize I'm not in the committee and this is a sort of a small part of this. But it is, for those of us who live anywhere near there, it is an important part. As I said at the end of the comments, I heard nothing in favor, other than the existence of these supposed pedestrian safety zones, the one on the north that was put in a few years ago, and a proposed little one on the south, seems to be really a side issue here, and with no, as far as I understood it, nothing in its favor and in terms of enhancing the proposed bike lanes. And I'm wondering whether the chairs would consider a friendly amendment to include a comment that those particular two whatever they call them, pedestrian refuges be eliminated from this. Is that something you
They
would
would
be
not
willing
be
to
friendly,
do?
and it seems a little removed from what we're
Well,
talking
the
about.
whole,
I mean, we could come
they are
back to it
removed
at some
from
other
it.
time, but it's not really part of, it was part of an earlier infrastructure change.
well, no, they're proposing one in the south, which we defeated the last time, and now they're proposing it again.
Along,
It would not.
along those lines of, be a little more specific in that highlighted clause. I mean, I was thinking of 3 specific constituencies, well, maybe 4. The cultural center area, the business community, the elderly, and potentially the 72nd Street, so the pinch point
I
area.
like that, maybe after due consideration, open parentheses.
Or like include, especially.
Yeah, because you don't want to exclude anyone.
Especially.
Including
Yeah,
the
and
elderly.
I just, based on what we heard tonight, I think otherwise it's just gonna be general.
The typical language you would use is including, but not limited to.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lawyer.
I think it's Islamic Cultural Center. is very key.
Yeah.
Islamic Cultural Center.
It's a colossal mess now.
Yeah,
I don't sound good for us, but if it could be improved, that'd be great.
Maybe they'll come by bike.
It wasn't.
They're all
About-
taxi.
Comments about-
It wasn't
Sophia,
comments from the
It
Islamic.
was like comments about the.
About, yeah.
Oh,
Including.
sorry, okay.
Okay.
Or pertaining
There we
to.
go.
Alright. Anything else?
Well,
Including.
Okay.
You know, first lady, she's dead there.
Comments considering, yeah.
Senior citizens. The other ones, Elizabeth?
Yeah, the elderly and disabled.
if you're doing this,
The disabled, yeah.
would you be willing to include?
And the
this-
72nd Street,
The pedestrian
The Central Park,
refugee things, just as one thing?
that's like
I
a
haven't heard
structure,
any-
these are
anybody-
community, like people.
Yeah.
I
Put in
guess
the
it's
10
like-
million visitors
Cause I-
on Central Park
Islamic
West.
cultural centers.
Seniors and disabled and Central Park West, Pinch Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I think Carrie's point, I mean, I think you, yeah, it's up to you, I don't know.
Okay, thank you so much. Are we ready to move forward?
Yes. All
Okay.
questions.
Where's it?
All in favor?
All in favor, wait, first, community.
Just committee members.
Committee members.
Just committee members.
Did I count myself?
Yeah. We need text voting.
Stop. All opposed?
I'm not sure what the purpose of this evening was.
Thank you.
I'm honestly not sure what
And
the
then
purpose of this evening.
non-committee.
You're out of order. I don't care if I'm out of order. I'm not a board member.
Yes.
Non-committee board member.
I'm not a board member. I don't have to be in one.
One.
we can hold you on
Thank
to
you.
to
Two.
remove.
Okay.
Go for it. Go for
And
it.
then no.
Call it.
Okay.
Call it tough guy.
Is Barbara still on?
Oh, yeah.
I have a question.
She get in.
I don't think she's on anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the
Okay,
resolution passes.
Okay.
We'll be going to the full board of Community Board 7.
There's Barbara.
Which will be the
Barbara's here.
first
Barbara.
Tuesday. Barbara, did you want to vote?
You're muted.
You talking to me?
Yeah, did you want to vote?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Do you want my vote?
Yes or no?
How do you vote?
I'm voting against.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so this will go to the, just hang on. Sure. This will go to the full board, first Tuesday in May. You can come to that meeting.
Sure.
Express your opinion.
I just want to follow procedure because the gentleman threatened to call the police on me, so I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing here.
You have a question?
I do, in fact.
What's your question?
What was the purpose of this evening?
The purpose was to ascertain Community Board 7's stance, committees, transportation committees stance on this proposal?
Because I think a fair amount of people presented a compelling case against. And yet the board, I'm assuming you folks are on the board, voted pretty much unanimously against. So it doesn't seem like you took our views into much consideration. It almost seemed like it was predetermined.
In the resolution,
Yes.
we specifically wrote in for them to consider the valuable comments that
Yes.
were provided, so we're hoping that they do that.
Okay.
So it wasn't, your time was not wasted.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just curious.
Okay,
I don't
I
attend
understand.
many of these,
Mhm.
and I may not attend again because he's gonna call, I may go to jail.
All right, so wait, hang on.
Yeah.
So this is,
You can't take him serious.
hang on.
Let's move on.
No, this is important. So I abstained, and I may change my vote one way or the other. What I would like to know, if between now and the full board, if any of the responses or implementation from any of the suggestions or comments from the public and from the board are going to be made by DOT before our full board, I'd love to hear it. If you happen to know how you're going to address any of the concerns, I think it would be really important for the full board to hear, because this has to pass the full board, and for the community. So if you have any answers or solutions to any of the things that came up, please, DOT, bring it to our attention so it can be presented before the full board meeting.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
so thank you for coming, if you came just for this. We're gonna move on. Our second.
What's going on?
Oh, I didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to speak when there was a line of people. I was in the bathroom and the line was so long that I just gave up, but. I'm with the West 72nd Street Block Association in terms of community engagement. I've worked with the merchants. We work with all the residents in the community. You know, we'd like to be a part of this and be engaged. I have to say that we weren't. So, I think there should be another meeting. That's just my belief. I'm not against the bicyclists. I'm not against, this is not really a redesign, but it's a step in the right direction. But it's really about looking at the streets for all. And I think some of the resolution embrace some of it by adding seniors in there, people with disabilities, the merchants, but there's no engagement. There just needs to be a little more engagement. And before we rush into the May full board meeting, I would really appreciate, and I respectfully request that there be some community engagement. And we as a block association be a part of that. If you would embrace that idea, okay? Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to street naming. Debbie, thank you so much for waiting. We really appreciate it. So, if you can go ahead with your presentation, and if you could try to keep it short and then we'll have our community discussion. And for context, all your materials have been shared.
Conversation, can we, any conversations, could you please take outside? We're still.
I don't know if that's Fred.
Your materials have been shared with the committee, so they should be familiar, so hopefully that can allow us to vote pretty quickly. Thank you so much. You want to go ahead?
Keep your eye on those.
Hey, can you take this outside?
That's the last thing you want.
No, but we're trying to listen to.
Take it outside, please.
Guys. Andrew.
In the buildings?
Yeah.
Go outside.
I'd love to talk more with him.
Go outside.
We're dealing with board business, like, can you just?
Yeah, we have to do the rest of the meeting.
If you'd like.
We can't hear you.
I know I'm just talking to you again in the rest of my life.
Let me make.
Okay, guys, we have to do the rest of the meeting.
You're afraid to get her mad.
Albert outside, we're gonna keep going.
Okay. Hi. So thank you to the members of the Community Board and DOT for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to strongly support the co-naming of West 83rd Street, the southwest corner of Central Park West, in honor of Cecile Richards. Cecile lived on the Upper West Side for 15 years, and during that time, she was not only a resident,
Doug, am I not a
but a true member of our community. She was a neighbor.
We're still in a meeting here.
Gail. Maybe could we just give
Yeah,
I didn't.
Debbie, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just don't want to lose the opportunity to present.
No, we definitely want to hear the case.
Okay. So should I just go ahead and ignore them? And then, because I'd love Kurt to say something and it's.
Yeah, just give me like 2 minutes because we're trying to clear everyone out right now. So I'm really sorry. You're not clearing out and having side conversations. We want to make sure you give the respect that you deserve.
Even dismiss it. All right, we're back. Go for it. Sorry about that, Deborah.
All right. Well, thank you again for the members of the community board and to the DOT for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to strongly support the co-naming of West 83rd Street, southwest corner of Central Park West, in honor of Cecile Richards. Cecile lived on the Upper West Side for 15 years, and during that time, she was not only a resident, she was a true member of our community. She was a neighbor in the fullest sense of the word, engaged, present, and generous with her time and spirit. Many of us knew her not only through the headlines, but through everyday interactions in our building, on our block, and in the shared spaces that define neighborhood life. At the same time, Cecile impact extended far beyond our streets. Through her leadership and advocacy, she became one of the most influential voices in the country on issues of healthcare, women's rights, and equality. The values she fought for, dignity, access, fairness, and opportunity, are deeply aligned with the principles that define the Upper West Side and New York City as a whole. Her work did not go unrecognized. Cecile was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Joe Biden, one of the nation's highest civilian honors, in acknowledgement for her lifelong dedication of advancing the rights and well-being of others. While the national recognition speaks volumes, those that knew her here experienced something equally as important and meaningful: her kindness, her humility, her genuine connection with people around her. What makes the co-naming so meaningful is the intersection of the two truths. She was a global figure and a local neighbor. Honoring her here, where she lived for 15 years, is not only appropriate, it's deeply fitting. Street co-namings are at their best a reflection of values. They recognize individuals whose lives remind us of who we are and who we aspire to be in the community. Cecile Richards.
Keep going, sorry.
Okay, she represents a life of service, leadership, and engagement, values that resonate strongly with the spirit of the Upper West Side. This is not simply recognition, it's about legacy. It's about ensuring the future generations who walk the streets ask her name, learn about the woman who stood for something larger than herself while remaining deeply connected to the community she called home. I respectfully ask for your support approving the co-naming. It would be meaningful, lasting tribute to a remarkable neighbor and extraordinary leader. Thank you for your time and consideration. I do have Kirk, her husband, and Lily, who are also waiting if there's time.
83rd.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's another speaker, right?
The family members.
Yeah.
You have another speaker?
Yeah.
Kirk?
Is he online?
He should be.
Kirk. Oh, Kirk
Oh,
Adams.
Kirk Adam.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
He will be part of stuff.
Kirk is Cecile's
Perfect.
husband and Lily, the daughter.
Thank you.
Well,
Am I on here or?
Yes.
Yeah,
How you
you're
doing?
here.
First, just want to thank the community board number 7 for really considering this proposal, and then secondly, just to thank people like Debbie, and I think Carol Pollock is also on this call, but these are folks in our community, in my building, but also on my block, who did the work, who really moved all of the various processes that had to be moved and have brought the forward to this proposal. I want to thank them
for everything they've done. I think Debbie's remarks are really captured the whole thing here. Cecile was a national figure, dedicated to civil rights for all and particularly for women's rights. But she did live on this magical corner called, on the corner of West 83rd and Central Park West. And it became, for us anyways, because we've lived in a half a dozen places over the years, our 45 years together. This one really became what everybody hopes for, a home. And in the broadest sense, not just property, not just where you put your head every night, but a place where you would have wonderful conversations with people in your building, or across the street at the synagogue, or down the road at Terralucci's, or with the brothers who ran Singoni's. This was a place where we actually enjoyed, the kind of our private lives. And so the idea of honoring her, even though she's gotten many honors, by this co-naming of the street is really a wonderful honor, and one that we totally support and hope that it will move forward. And I think it also sort of brings one last thing, and that is if that sign was sitting there in the corner, it really provides kind of a teaching moment, a recurring teaching moment for anybody who walks by and looks up at that sign. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kirk. Do we have any other speakers that wanted to speak before we move to a vote? Yeah. Debbie, who else wants to speak so I can promote them to panelists? And if you want to speak, raise your hand, please.
Kurt, I don't know if Lily or Carol wanted to speak.
Lily's fine. Don't worry about her. And I'm not seeing Carol, so I don't know.
Okay.
I see Carol Moniton.
No, there's Carol Portlock. There's also Brad Cohen is on, right? Wait, I'm trying to see.
Bradley Cohen, is that right?
Yes, he's also, he lives in the building. He's on Zoom. I don't know if he's raising his hand.
Okay. Okay, great.
Hi,
it's Julie Cohen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, you can hear me?
Julie? Okay.
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much. I'll be brief because I know we've had a very lively night. I just wanted to say that I also live in the same building as Debbie and Kirk. My husband and I have 2 young kids, and I was one of the people who went across the street to Temple Road of Shalom because there's tons of people that come on our block often to use that. And I went and met with both rabbis there and said, I know I don't want this to be a political thing at all because of the things that Cecile did. And both of them were almost in tears talking about how this would mean so much to them for 83rd Street to have her name on it. And just as someone who lived in this building for 2 years with her, she was such a bright light in this building and such a kind face on the Upper West Side. I'd see her walking her dogs in Central Park and talking with my kids. And I would sometimes see young women and men approach her on the street. And it just, for me and raising 2 young kids here, there'd be nothing more special than having our street named after such an extraordinary woman. So just want to share that.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, is that everyone before I move to discussion? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Elizabeth.
Great, thanks for letting me speak. I had the privilege of knowing and meeting Cecile many times in my day job, but also first was introduced to her family on the Upper West Side because her mother, Ann Richards, who was the former governor of Texas, many of you remember her, and was a remarkable woman herself, quote unquote retired after George W. Bush, I guess, beat her for governor, which whole random story, but she decided to make her career or the tail end of her career on the Upper West Side. So I was sort of surprised because I wasn't familiar with Cecile living in New York. I had always considered her, a Texan. and more of a DC person because of her career in advocacy. And I was pleased to hear, so I called up a friend who spends a lot of time, she's in DC, sort of a DC insider, and I said, you know, this is really interesting. Cecile Richards is up for this award for a street renaming tonight. And I said, I always thought of her, you know, and she said, well, you know, Elizabeth, like I thought of her as a New Yorker more than a Texan. So that sold it for me. So I just wanted to say that I support this, and I think that we have a lot of stipulations about signatures and about time since being deceased and everything else. And I think just on her merits, over 50% of our neighborhood is women, and she's done so much to help women that I just fully support this decision, and I hope we pass it. Thank you.
I second that. Okay. Any other, yeah.
Oh, I just was curious, how did, I know it's not dispositive, but does it meet the criteria that we have for secondary street?
It does, it doesn't,
Some,
yeah, only one, right? That she hasn't been deceased for 10
Well,
years.
there
but
was
I'm fine to
also-
leave that.
I wanted to ask, there was also we have a requirement that you inquire about a plaque or some other recognition that's different from a street naming. I understand that the building actually has offered to put up a plaque, is that true?
Yes, that was a year ago when we started the process. That was part of the original link. And then I resubmitted the link on April 3rd. And that wasn't part of the question, so I didn't give you all the materials, but we have indeed have something that we will put on the building. It is a brass plate. I could send you that. It should be on file from a year ago, but if you need an updated description or whatever, I could do that. Yes, so we followed all the different.
So there will be a,
Yes.
Thank you.
okay.
I actually didn't know that Cecile Richards lived on the west side, and it's just another plus for our community. And as the husband and father of strong-willed, independent and very outspoken women, and the grandfather of 5 girls who are in training to be the same, I couldn't think of anyone more deserving to be honored by the street.
Learn more about Jay.
I just want to show that I'm not all bad.
Well, I look, I have been very outspoken about secondary street namings, and I just think it adds posterity and history and love and admiration and reflection to people that are not with us. I opposed our change on this committee to wait for someone to be deceased for 10 years, because my point is, it's not just about the individual, it's about all the people and the family and friends and community that can remember that person. And so I don't subscribe to people that say that this is street clutter, and if it were up to me, I wouldn't mind a secondary street naming on every grid in the city because it's rich. I don't know whatever happened to our QR code law that was proposed, but anyway, I obviously in this particular instance, I support this, and I think it's going to be a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Call the question.
I just wanted to say, I typically vote against these. We have such a wealth of talent and wonderful people on the Upper West Side. You know, so there's a lot of pressure on our committee when family members and people who really loved and respected this person come to us, you know, to say no. You know, Ann Richards was I thought she was fantastic. I didn't know her daughter, but I'm sure she was amazing also. Sorry, I didn't even know she lived on 83rd Street. But, you know, there's a building at 101st and Central Park West that has a plaque. And it's just an indication of the wealth of talent that we have on the Upper West Side. I just want to read off some of the names. Just on this, lived in this one building all season. Peter Arnold, the cartoonist. Art Blakey, the trumpet. Yip Harbor wrote Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Lawrence Hart just made a movie about him. Elvin Jones, one of the greatest jazz drummers ever. Alfred Kazin, amazing memoirist. Abby Lincoln, jazz singer, composer. Max Roach, another great drummer. I understand Roach and Elvin Jones used to like play together, like and respond to each other. And Teddy Wilson. So, you know, how can we pick and choose? You know,
We can.
But here we are.
and the fact that there was a plaque and the building is going to put a plaque. That's the reason we asked for that, is to see if there's other forms of recognition.
Okay, sorry, just want to say I'm a big fan, and as a young woman, I really respect all of Cecile's work. I got my, probably know for sure, but I got my birth control as a teenager from Planned Parenthood. Okay, and I'm ready to move this for a vote. So, all in favor? Okay, oh, it's not unanimous, okay, okay. One is against, but this passes. Okay,
Good.
great, thank you so much, Debbie, thank you so much for all your time.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, go on.
Just for instance, I'm Shula from Councilor Brewer's office. Twice a year, the city council votes on omnibus street coding bills. May 8th is the deadline for us to submit for our community board. So just throwing it out there. I know there's a full board beforehand, but that's when we would need all the information beforehand to submit. So
Thank you.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Debbie, thank you for your time.
Thank you very, very much.
George and I-
Thank you.
Second.